Try.
That's why I was going to try to get Marco.
Do you want to be a part of the CoCo community? Sure, we all do. So join this free weekly live talk show to find out how easy it is to watch at home and learn about your color computer. At the CoCoNation, more than 9 million men and women have participated in the community without setting foot outside their homes. And now at home in your spare time, you can see what's happening or even join the discussion. Choose from any one of these segments: panel intros, project updates, acquisitions, CoCo thoughts, featured interviews and events, the Game On Challenge, news, Ron's Garage, CoCo commercials, show coverage, panel goodbyes, or you can join one of our extra shows. You can choose from the Game On Challenge Live or CoCo Tech. Join the CoCoNation right now.
Click the link for the free information TJB Chris spoke about. Then decide if you want to watch the CoCoNation Live Show, the world's leading live weekly talk show featuring the Tandy color computer, its siblings, cousins, and red-headed stepchildren. Visit thecoconation.com. There is no obligation and no salesman will visit you. Visit thecoconation.com.
The CoCoNation show is an unscripted, live, and interactive broadcast. Anything can and will happen. The views and opinions expressed by members of the panel and the live audience are their own, and not necessarily those of the CoCoNation show, its sponsors, affiliates, or subsidiaries. Open minds are encouraged, and a sense of humor is recommended. Thank you for being a part of the CoCoNation.
Radio Shack? Okay.
What?
The 80s called.
Welcome to the CoCoNation, the world's first live and interactive talk show featuring the Tandy color computer and its hardware cousins.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the CoCoNation Show, episode 416. How's everybody doing?
Yeah.
Tandy. All right.
Back up a little bit. Okay. All right. On the panel today, we have yours truly. Next over, we got Kevin Holloway. And
Hello, everybody.
in
Sorry.
the nick of time,
Yeah.
Ron Deluxe.
Yeah, we're out here in Arizona, and today about 4 o'clock when our time, when everything's done here, it'll be 104 outside.
Yeah, you can keep it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. Loopy Malibu. Okay. Next row, we got Wing Nuts.
Hello.
And long time no see, Rick Adams.
Hello, everybody.
And ditto, Simon Jonason.
It's not, brothers.
Hey, Qui-Gon.
Howdy.
And next row, we got Henry Gernhard.
Hi, folks. Welcome to the CoCoNation. My name's Henry, and today I'm loading up websites, so in case L Curtis Boyle goes out of commission, I can at least present them to you.
Probably much better, actually.
Right, Henry Strickland.
Hello, world. His name's Henry, and I've been running Turbo 9 OS on my TRF9 computer.
And next up, we got Rick Euland.
Howdy, folks. I'm on the verge of shipping those things, so that's cool. Now let's see if Bob's regained his focus.
Where's the money
And
go?
Bob Emery.
Howdy, folks. Welcome to the CoCoNation.
He is
For
a bit
today-
out of focus, isn't he?
Yeah, he has not regained his focus. Focus, Bob. Focus.
Let me clean my lens. Hold on. On with the show.
All right, next line we got Frederick Sagard.
Hello from Canada, smoky Canada, actually, I should say, these days.
Yep.
And closer to the smoke, L Curtis Boyle.
Yeah, it's a couple hour drive north from where the fires are actually. Luckily, right now the window's a little bit off. But yeah, I'm having some internet connection problems with my router. So if I suddenly disappear, Henry will take over and do a much better job presenting.
Okay. And in the cabin, Ken Waters.
Any rumors of my demise are greatly exaggerated. I'm actually alive and here.
Okay.
Oh, we were only concerned with your computer. So
Yeah, well, my computer didn't survive. Fine, I survived, but my computer didn't.
It was that last bump in the road. That moose you ran over. And last but not least, we got Brian Weasler.
Hello, all. Welcome to the show.
In the chat, we've got Michael Zwiffle, Wayne Campbell, Jim Rye, Sixty, Micro Hobbyist, Canadian Retro Things, Brian Blake, Scott Cooper, 8-Bits in the Basement, Julian Brown, Ken Wilmot, Tom Eric Gunderson, David Lord, Ken Reichard. And that catches us up.
You read Scott Cooper's comment?
Yeah, full crew today. Need some stronger glasses. Yeah.
Especially if you're trying to watch on your phone.
Let's see. And the Canadians need to put down the cigarettes.
Hey Simon, what's the time of day where you are?
Right now? About noon here.
For Simon.
20:05.
8:05 for you Yanks PM.
I understood him perfectly. I don't know why there's a problem with that. Translation is not necessary.
So, okay. First up, we got project updates and acquisitions. Let's start up with Simon.
You're on, Simon.
There you are.
Go
You're
for
up.
it.
What am I on for?
It's all you, Simon.
You got the floor.
Yeah, I just want to show off wobble. Anyone seen it?
I've seen it.
I've seen the stills. I haven't seen it in action.
Well,
Yeah, same here.
Henry's got a version of it.
I haven't downloaded it yet, so
So there are other people that got a version of it as well, but right now it's just still a work in progress.
And exactly what are you doing?
What I'm doing, I'm mismatching two HG modes. I've got this funky idea about the way PAL works. You know, PAL kind of takes two adjacent scan and mixes them to another color. So what I'm doing here is taking your CoCo 2 and I'm wobbling your screen up and down by 1 pixel. Yeah, you can do that. You can just place the screen by an arbitrary amount if you want to.
Now, does this only work on PAL then, or does it work on NTSC as well?
This is for NTSC. This is pretty much PAL artifacts on NTSC.
Okay.
Because you have the greater refresh rate. You've got 60 hertz. So it's a bit more blinky on PAL. But a lot of it can be done on PAL without wobbling the screen.
So you're kind of doing an interlace thing where you're kind of changing things between each.
No, it's one image. It's one single image, but you just have two scan lines. If you have, say, a red scan line and a blue scan line, and you wobble that up and down by 1 pixel, that scan line will become purple.
Oh, okay, I get it.
So basically, that's what it's doing.
And you're using semi-graphics for this too? You're not using the quote-unquote pure color modes?
No, it's just SG. It's a mixture of two SG modes. One of them is SG24.
Okay.
So it's kind of on par with if you've seen the demo that 60 done with his scrolling cat.
Yeah.
Up and down, where you can displace the screen by an arbitrary amount. This is just displacing the screen by 1 pixel to blend two scan lines into a different color.
Okay.
So I don't
or different set of colors if you have multiple colors on each scan line, right?
Pardon?
I said there would be it would actually be more than one color that you're mixing because you could have multiple colors on the same scan line on each of the two, right?
I mean, in SG24, you've got 64 pixels across the,
Yeah.
So basically, normally in SG whatever, you can only have like a full-on block or half on the left side, half on the right side, but this will actually blend something for the bottom. So you're getting gray tones, you're getting skin tones, you're getting everything.
Okay. And does it look smoother than just say page flipping between two SG24, renderings, for example?
It's not page flipping at all. So it's
no, I know it's not, but I'm just saying, like, is the effect better looking on the screen than it would be doing a page flip? Okay.
It's a heck of a lot better than a page flip.
Yeah, because that gets pretty flickery from when I fiddled with it, trying to do page flipping.
Exactly, but again, if you're going to do a page flip, then you would ideally have equal luma.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have equal luma, then it's going to flicker like God knows what.
Yeah. It works best with certain color combinations and others it looks like absolute crap.
Yeah, exactly.
So this kind of eliminates that problem. So you're basically getting a pretty decent quality no
Yes, you
matter
are.
what.
Yes,
Yeah.
you are. So I don't know if anyone has something they can show because I don't know if I'm going to share my screen or what. I can do. I could try. Forgive me, it's a Windows 7, all right?
Probably the most stable one.
Right?
Wasn't that XP
Yeah. Well, XP works as well.
7's good too.
or NT?
Yeah.
Actually, probably would be more stable.
Familiar?
You see my screen?
Yep.
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 Looks like you're doing Linux thing there.
No, he's just using a command line.
The old DOS prompt or equivalent of.
Right. Not that fancy PowerShell crap.
I mean, PowerShell's just way too verbose is the problem.
Right.
Oh, wrong machine. Sorry.
Oops.
Whoopsies.
So that's a bad one.
Boom.
So let me just
This is something I would definitely recommend people to download and actually try if they can once you got it released, because bandwidth problems and stuff, we may not see the full effect properly.
Yeah, Zoom's gonna butcher it.
yeah, it's probably gonna look like crud on Zoom.
Yeah.
You know?
But we might get a occasional like a half-second burst where it looks proper.
Right.
Half a second, yeah. That's good, isn't it?
Have you released it publicly yet, or just to certain people so far?
It's only a few people right now because of the timing issue.
Yeah.
Take forever. Can you see it?
It's trying.
Yeah, we can see it kind of bouncing up and down, and every once in a while it bounces up and down fast enough you can kind of get the effect.
Yeah, but again, this is like screen capture, so if you see it properly, it's completely different.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're seeing like 1 out of every 7 frames or something.
Yeah,
So
and that's
it's
not good.
Well,
That's
you get
not
the
good, you
idea
know.
though.
So you mentioned like you haven't released it yet because there's a timing issue, you said?
Yeah, because you have let me stop. Wait a minute. Because of the mismatch modes, I have a single scan line just goes again where it's the wrong color. And I thought it was something else, but it's actually timing creep. So, but there's Jennifer Beals. And let me just show you the encoder here.
Oh, so the encoder part is actually a PC program, a Windows program, not a CoCo program.
Yep. And it's running really, really slowly because Zoom's running on my PC and I'm sharing my screen and everything else. This usually runs like stink.
Yeah, Zoom's a bit of a pig. So if I'm looking at this, the upper left corner, that's the original picture you're converting. The two other ones on the top are the alternate wobble up and down. I can see some color changes between, say, left of Brittany's face there, but it's kind of a whitish on one and more magenta on the other. And then the ones on the bottom there are the kind of what it's going to look like in
The
wobble
one at the
mode.
bottom, the one at the very bottom is what it's going to look like. So if I just grab that, let me see if I can find this. Oh, good.
Now I know you're doing this with faces and skin tones and stuff. Will this work for scenes like, landscape like behind me?
Probably.
Yeah, I like the theory. Skin tones are the hardest thing to do. So if you can do skin, you can do anything.
Hmm.
There we go. So she's just been converted. So basically, that's what I'm up to at the moment.
Cool. I'd imagine this is pretty CPU intensive to get that going, or could you try to run, say, an arcade game using this mode?
Well, I need to unshare the screen soon.
Can you do double speed? Like the double
Possibly,
speed poke?
maybe not.
No.
How do I unshare this bloody screen? Sorry. No, unshare the screen.
Unshare it?
Yeah.
Should be a button at the
click.
top should say stop sharing. You may have to click on your zoom button there to get it to pop up.
Stop video. Pause share. Stop share. There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
Sorry about that. And my desktop looked like crap because it's full of all different kinds of experiments.
Welcome to Windows.
Not as full as mine.
Simon, in case I missed this, how many times a second then are you doing that wobble?
At 60 hertz.
60, okay.
Yeah. Basically, I'm waiting out the V blank. And I'm just waiting out the V blank, and then I'm
right.
Getting to the first scan line on the screen.
Okay.
And that first scan line, in this case, is like 4E, but I have a piece of code further down that's XORing the 4E to a 4F. So basically, it's wobbling the screen up and down by doing a single XOR. It's kind of funky. It's kind of very funky.
So in real life, you're seeing a 30 hertz change, but that's not going to record well onto Zoom or anything else in the world. So,
Exactly. Which is why I usually take photos with the phone.
Which still doesn't work entirely right, but it's better than
Yeah, longer exposure you can kind of like blend together like 30 refreshes on a 1 second exposure, for example. So it would look a lot better.
So yeah, that's what I'm up to at the moment after a long time away from everything.
Cool. I look forward to seeing the actual live demo and trying it. Will it actually work fully properly on stuff like a Gimme X or a Gimme Z as well, do you think?
Does it support SG?
Gimme X does for sure. Gimme Z, I think he's planning on adding it if it's not there already. I think from when we talked to Alan last time, that's definitely one of his planned additions. Hasn't got it on the current version, I don't believe.
Because there are two versions of this. The one you just seen only uses SG blocks, which would make it compatible with the CoCo 3.
Right, yeah, if you do that little trick Sockmaster found years ago.
Yeah. The lines per row thing.
Yeah.
But the other thing, the other one uses characters as well.
Oh, okay. So you can actually use like the dark red from the SG color set.
Yeah, and it
text mode
also uses lines from characters to get a better definition, so you get a higher X resolution.
Okay.
So
are you using the dark green mode or using the dark red orangish mode?
Yeah, I'm using the 11 color mode, the orange mode here.
Okay. Yeah.
So, but principally, you can do exactly the same thing on a CoCo 3, but just use FF9D, 9E offset registers to wobble 1 pixel per frame.
Yeah.
So you could, I mean, if you just chose 16 random colors out of the 64 palettes, and you used a blend, you get 256 colors without having to make a funky image. You know, like if you're doing, what's it called? artifact. This will do it without artifacts, you know. So basically, you can get 250 colors easily. And if you went even more funky and started changing per scanline palette, you get 4096 colors.
That would be cool.
Yeah, it would be very cool. And that's the next thing. So
yeah, I'm definitely looking forward when you get this out for a public release. So like I'll try it on my Gimme X just to make sure it works there. And like I said, the Gimme Z is going to be a little bit behind on that, but I know semi-graphics, fully supporting semi-graphics like the CoCo 1 and 2 style with the characters, not just the graphic part, is something he's planning.
Ron has a copy of this.
You muted, Ron.
Yeah, I just got it today.
Yeah, Ron has a copy of this. It's still the bad version. Still the bad version, the untimed version. And Henry's got a copy of this as well.
Yeah, I just tried running it on Xroar, and Xroar hung on my machine probably because I've got 15,000 tasks going on. So I'm plugging, I'm plugging in a CoCo 2 now to see if I can get it running.
You can. It'll work.
So, but yeah, it definitely looks a lot better on a real metal. So, but that's what I'm doing. So I'm just going to mute myself again, and you can move forward.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, cool. Well, if Henry gets it up and running, he maybe want to try to share a screen or something if it.
We'll figure out what happens. Yeah, we'll figure out what happens with it.
Yeah, again, it's the bad version with stripes in it because of the mismatched timing. I haven't had time to fix it, but I've seen it on Sheldon's machine where I saw a video Sheldon done the other day when he was testing it. Sheldon McDonald.
Yep.
And all of a sudden the stripes disappear because the timing creep becomes correct, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, the time is like it's mismatched by but a cycle or two or something, and the timing creep, it comes in and everything just falls into place. So that's what I'm working on at the moment.
Got it.
Yep.
Alrighty. Next up, we've got Rick Adams.
Oh, hello. What I'm working on, and it's also a work in progress, is what I call Temple of Rogue, because it looks a lot like Temple of Rum, but it also looks a lot like Rogue. So it's using the 80-column text screen on a CoCo 3 and draws a random dungeon, and you're crawling around in that, and there's dragons to fight and swords to find and health potions and shields and all that sort of stuff. But it's not finished yet. It is, at this point, it is playable. I put a link to the GitHub in the chat, which just scrolled off. Right now it's playable. You can win, you can lose, but the game is not balanced at all well. If you find a sword, well, that sword will, with one swing of your sword, you can kill any dragon you run across forever. And if you find a shield, you will never take any damage ever again, and so forth. So not a very, I mean, it's playable, but it's not really a very balanced game. So certainly it is not done yet. And that's all I got to say about that.
You mean a game I might actually be able to do something with?
Yeah, you better keep this version there.
The game that even Stephen Strobridge can win, yes.
So it looks like, I've seen screenshots of it, and it looks like a Rogue style screen, but it's actually 4-way scrolling on top of that, right?
Correct.
So does that mean we'll actually have fun during Game On Challenge?
Amazing.
That's a Ken Slam if I've ever heard one.
Hey, I've been gone. It's Sal Sloopy's fault.
Oh, that's right. Correct.
Oh, okay. Does anybody else have any project updates?
Oh, okay, never mind.
I got a few things. Go ahead, Rick.
No, you go. You have better stuff.
I'm going to try to share my screen. I'm not sure if all that's going to work.
Back to Rick.
screen. And then we're gonna, what happens after that? Let's see, share. And then we're gonna go here, there. Does it show?
We see the screenshot. Yeah.
Good, there's the screenshot. Let's see, open link in new tab and try it. Well, nope, that's not gonna work. Oh shoot, this thing is crazy. Okay, it's got the you are screen sharing thing up at the top, so I can't even tell where my tabs are. So anyway, that's what it looks like. And so up here is where it is. And so now I will stop share. And there. Okay.
How much time do you figure you have left? Are you getting close to the end, or do you have a lot of balancing to do? Or
I'd say I may be 80% done. Yeah, I want to make it balanced, and then I want to add as much flavor text as I can cram into it. Try to make it an interesting game. It's never going to be a great roguelike, I don't think, but it'll be kind of fun. It's just sort of, I'm just keeping myself from being bored. So that's all I got.
in that case, if you're getting that bored, I should recruit you into redoing all the OS9 manuals instead of me doing it.
All of a sudden, he's not bored anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, it is on GitHub. You can go out there and you can, grab the source. You can grab a playable game. You can grab the binary. You can grab a disk image. You can look at my commit messages and look over my shoulder and suggest things and whatever. It's sort of a work in progress that I'm doing, in public. It's not like it's any kind of a secret or trade secret or anything like that. So have fun. That's all I got to say.
Okay. It's written in assembly, I presume?
Yes.
Or using like CMOC or something? Okay. Yeah.
Nope. I'm using LWSM.
Okay. Lost Wizard. So that's William Astl's cross assembler.
Yep. And
128K, or does it need more? I should ask that too.
I don't think it needs more. No, I think it's fine as is.
Okay.
So the way that it generates the dungeon is I have Python scripts that generate a graphic of the dungeon. And then I have a Python script that reads the graphic and generates assembler data from that. So to be a true roguelike, you would want to generate a random dungeon at runtime, but I'm way too lazy for that. Now, the problem is that, you're going to generate a dungeon, and I've taken some care to, it's got things like there are doors, and then there are keys to those doors to unlock them. And I have taken some care to make sure that it always gets generated in such a way that you are going to run it into a key for the door before you run into the door, because otherwise it wouldn't be very fair. But other than that, the dragons are placed randomly, and the swords and the shields and the health potions are all placed randomly. So when you generate a dungeon, it may or may not be winnable. I am not sure. And that's where a lot of the, it's important that the balance.
Yeah, that's where a lot of the balance has to come in.
Yeah. If you make it so there's a sword in every room, well, I think you're going to be okay. But how far can you back off from that before it becomes unwinnable? So it's hard to say.
Yeah, or a dragon in every room.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool. I look forward to. I've been kind of following your progress on there, though I haven't been able to keep caught up with it lately. So it's good to see you're actually about 80% done. And you were having a few bugs. I remember you mentioning on the Discord. It sounds like you got most of those solved. It's more finessing now at this point.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
And since I'm a huge fan of Rogue, I definitely will be a fan of this one.
Right. And some people were saying, "Oh, this is so great. We could take the game and we could just make a few modifications and send it out an RS-232 port to a VT100 terminal." And it's like, no, it doesn't work that way. This is, the CoCo 3 actual 80 column text mode. So it's not quite that easy. But it's just like, it's just like when I was coding Temple of Rom, except it's a lot easier because the 80 column screen is a lot less memory than Temple of Rom uses. So slinging around all the characters instead of the graphics is a lot faster.
Yeah, I mean, you have color, so you have the attribute byte enabled, but it's still like 4K or less or something. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Cool. I definitely look forward to playing the actual full-blown game. So, I have to download and test it. In the meantime, just take a look at it. Cool.
So that's it for me.
Okay, I noticed Henry Gernhardt is now showing a graphic here, so I'm assuming that's the wobble mode. If we want to go back to that before we go on to the next
Yep.
update requisition.
That is as close to it as I can get with the systems that I've got in place. But I can tell you, looking at my screen, it looks really, really nice. And what I'm seeing pinging back over Zoom looks really nice.
This is the first one I've seen where you can actually see some flesh tones in the flesh tone of the face. It's not just blown out. Nicely done.
Yeah.
That's striking.
That's very nice. Let me do a full reset here and get the other one in.
It is quite mad, isn't it?
And that black stripes there, that's what you're talking about. You're fixing the timing on, right, Simon?
Exactly, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like your ad for Fujinet while you're doing this.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, we'll get Rick to do his Temple of Rogue here to run over Fujinet so you can do head-to-head play.
There we go. Perfect. Okay, the first thing, this was what confused me, because when I first loaded this, that's what I ran into, and then I had to once I hit break, it showed the picture.
You can hit any key and it will do it.
Yeah, I didn't realize that I could hit any key and it will do it. This one to me is not as striking as the first one, the hair one. But I'm imagining that's because the subject's face is actually darker.
Most
you can definitely see it looks like a heck of a lot more than just the standard 8 colors plus black that a
absolutely.
cheap 24 would do.
Yeah. That's just absolutely striking how much color is available there. Out of curiosity, Simon, how much CPU is it taking to actually do this?
I have to wait out the V blank. That's it.
You have to what? Wait out the V blank?
Wait out the V blank and wait out until the first scan line.
Okay. All right. So you're not doing a full beam racer. You're just doing a blank racer effectively.
Yeah.
That's nice. Because that tells me that you might be able to use this not like as like motion graphics in a game, but it's something that you could use as like extra splash.
Or as a graphical text adventure, like if you want to render some images and have regular text in the bottom, you should be able to time that pretty well.
Yeah.
What I'd like to do at some point is actually make an animation.
Oh,
Cool.
That'll be nifty.
So,
with a little music, maybe.
Possibly.
This is absolutely stunning. And Simon, once you're ready to release, I will be so interested in taking this apart and putting it back together again.
It's so easy. It's so easy, really. The code will blow your mind. So easy it is. It's simply complex.
Oh, good. I look so forward to seeing that code.
And I have one last question for you, Simon. Are you planning to take this technique and maybe doing another CoCo 1.2 Dragon demo?
Yeah, but I got to finish Gimme Games first, didn't I? I started that 6 years ago at CoCoFest, didn't I?
You get a wider audience with this one, though, because this works on CoCo 1s and 2s and Dragons as well. So
exactly.
It looks good as an icon, too.
Pardon?
Kevin.
It looks good as an
Flash
icon,
dance.
too.
Yeah, it does.
That flash dance image is actually pretty good.
Oh, yeah, you got Jennifer Beals up there. Do you want to highlight that, Mark, so we can see it?
If I hit the right mouse.
Yeah, once that banding effect's out, that's going to look really good.
Yeah. So just so that folks know, this is coming off of a T1. I don't know if the regular 6847 will make a difference, but this one is a T1. So the colors are
The T1 does not do 11 color mode properly.
okay. Yeah. So this is if it's not doing 11 color mode properly, this being a T1, this looks nice, really nice.
Yeah, that's right. Because the color set 1 text on the T1 borrows one of the colors from the regular palette instead of having unique ones. So I'm guessing that's what you're talking about, Simon.
Exactly. The T1, even though it looks good, it's not correct.
Okay.
Yeah, you're missing a shade there for sure.
Yeah. Actually, the banding can be fixed very easily. You just squint your eyes a little bit, and the bands disappear.
Or drink a couple of beer really fast. One of the two.
I was just sitting here. I was just sitting here, and I squinted my eyes a little bit, and just squinting there, the black lines disappear, and the color becomes smoother. It actually looks really good.
That's what I've been doing the whole time. Yeah.
So Curtis, for once, I'm not drinking beer. For once, I'm not drinking beer.
I was just going to say, if you drink a whole case of beer, you're going to have dual wobble mode happening here, both the graphic and your motion. So,
all right. Well, that's what I got. I'm going back to my regularly scheduled background.
Nice job, Simon.
Yep. Looking forward to the final one for sure.
Thank you very much. So I'm going to have to split in a little bit because I've got other things to do, but I will release.
We'll still be going after you go to sleep tonight and you'll wake up in the morning. So
yeah, you start taking the code apart and you find out it's so simple that you're going to laugh at yourself. But I will say that without the converter, it's pie in the sky, and I will thank my good friend, for making the converter because you listened to my madness. So that'd be Chris Martin. So,
okay, well, we'll definitely shout out to Chris then.
Yeah, on Facebook it's John Christopher, but he's Chris Martin. He's some bigwig from Keurig. He knows stuff about graphics. So he just listens to my madness and he makes a converter that works for me.
Nice.
Cool. I definitely look forward to a demo that actually incorporates that in. And like you said, if you can get the animations and stuff working on too, that'd be pretty awesome.
Well, that's just a case of changing some pages and having X amount of screens in RAM.
Yeah.
So something like cat running along or something.
Yancat, yes.
Yeah, of course it's a cat. I've got 3, haven't I?
Henry Gernhardt, I'm presuming you've seen the Nyancat demo on the CoCo already that has the sound and music on the background.
Actually, I don't think I have. I'm going to have to look that up at some point.
Okay. I think it's just SG4 if I remember, but it's quite well done with full music and stuff. Okay, Mark B, who's next?
Was that Rick? Rick Euland?
Sure. I can do a really quick little thing. I've invented a new thing, folks. So here is. Normally, you print a two-sided case. You clip it together. It sits flat on the table. Everything's fine. I have somehow invented a two-sided case that you clip it together and it turns into a Pringle. You take them apart, they're flat. You put them together, it's a friggin' Pringle. So, moving forward through technology, folks.
Are the Pringles cheaper?
Shim the table.
Fix that. Just leave it in your car over a day.
Yeah, that'll flatten it out.
If you leave it in the multi-pack, just leave it in the multi-pack.
I actually figured it out. When you draw your first sketch, you pick an XY direction, and if it's not the same, then they end up doing this. So I just need to rework my work. But funny, I've never done that before. So cool.
So now you just got to reverse it and print you some matching ones.
Yeah, exactly. No, PLA's cheap. I'll throw away all the bad ones and start over. But that was funny.
Okay.
How many did you actually print before you discovered that? Hopefully, the first one.
Just a couple. I mean, a 3D printer is so slow. You can make 5 designs while the first one prints. So it's pretty easy to stay ahead of the printer on this one.
That's about the same ratio as redesigning your entire circuit board every day as you're waiting a week for the first samples to come back.
Oh, is that why this says H after that?
That's why it says H, yeah. G, I've got one somewhere. It required 2 bodge wires.
Good stuff.
Cool. Who's next?
Brian.
Okay. Let's see here. Well, the first thing I'm going to do here, just because and many of you may see this, but I've been recently introduced to this. Let me just share my screen real quick here. Here we go. So some of you, and for reasons that'll be known down the road here a little bit, I was kind of thumbing through some of the 68 micros. And this just happened to be the first volume, and I'm just sharing this just because I thought it was kind of interesting. If you scroll down through the first volume here, of
we're seeing you right now. We're not seeing a share.
Oh, that's not sharing? Oh, there it goes. Sorry. There we go. Now you getting it?
Yeah, there we go.
There we go. Okay, so the World of 68 Micro was a magazine that was out there. Let's see, Curtis, when did that one start? It was like later 90s or early 90s, I
93. 93. It was kind of the takeover from Rainbow, and it was done by Frank Swigert.
Right. So I started recently thumbing through these, and like I said, there'll be a reason why that'll come down the road. But anyway, this first issue, I was just kind of rolling down through here, and as you scroll down through here, here's an article from Richard Baer, but then also we got Jason, CoCo Man. He did an article in this first one here, and you keep going here a little bit further, and here's a Marty Goodman article. And the man we just heard from, Mr. Rick Ulan, published one here, beginning with OS 9 in here. And if you go to the second page here, we see a much younger Rick.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, the beard's a bit smaller and a different color.
And a different color, yes.
Remember doing this, Rick?
I actually do. And he didn't use my title. My title was Operating System 9. Dang it.
Oh, okay.
I think he did change that in later issues, just not off the start.
Right. Yeah, that's a long time ago.
Yep. But then let's see here. Where's the other one? I thought there's Swigert.
Yeah, that's Frank Swigert himself. Yeah.
Yep. And let's see, where's the other one I saw here? Just another person, a name that we're familiar with here quite a bit.
That's one, isn't it? That game, isn't it by somebody?
Yep. Yep.
We scrolled by.
Yeah, there. Target Jumper. Take a look at the comment at the beginning of the listing.
Oh, yeah, Kenneth. Yep. Did I miss?
Both records are in this issue.
Both records.
Both. Yeah, I thought I had an article. Well, maybe he did 2 of them there. So he did that game. Let me scroll down here a little bit. Sorry, guys, about hope I don't make anybody sick.
But this next guy.
So here's Alan Huffman. Did one in the first issue as well. And there's a younger looking Alan there.
With his
robe. With his robe.
His robe. And then David Graham. And where's the other one at here? There's a review.
A review of Nick's Rascan.
Yep.
Nick Marentes.
Yep. Is Rascan there? Let's see. Where was it at there? Here's
Rick's company.
Yep. CoCoNet. I must have missed it there, but yeah, I know. Ken did an article there too. I think it was I think I was expecting more of a title page there with Ken Reichert, but so the first issues there really loaded with some stuff from many people that are still active in the community today. So
yeah,
I just thought that was
well, when Rainbow folded, there's a couple of we talked about this a bit too offline, but basically there's a few people try to come up with some sort of magazine or newsletter to kind of replace Rainbow. Mm-hmm. Metamorphosis by Mark Griffith was one. World of 68 Micros by Frank Swigert was another. There's a couple others too. I don't remember the names off the top of my head, but this is the only one that survived more than a year, and it went for a good 5 years, I think, didn't it, Rick?
Yeah, it ran for a good long time.
And then Frank had to get out of it because he was busy. He was getting moved around so much, being with the military and stuff. And somebody was supposed to take it over, and I think they only got an issue or two out, and then it just kind of disappeared. Just sad. Mind you, now we've got the net. You can just make web pages and stuff now. So, or you can have like live shows like this,
right? Yeah. So if you weren't aware of this magazine or publication, it's nice. They're short reads. There are not a lot of pages there. So, but anyway, I just thought that was kind of neat. I just saw Rick's face there. That was the main thing I wanted to share there. So,
my speckled past.
Okay. The next thing I was going to show here is let's see here. This is one piece of it here. Anybody recognize this this board?
Off the top of my head.
Okay, this is the main board. Good.
For
Yeah,
an
I know.
RGB to HDMI.
Yep, I knew Bob was going to get it. So this is the main board. Yep, this is the main board for the RGB to HDMI. You've probably seen Retro Hack Shack Aaron doing his videos on this project. And there's several pieces that go to this. You're going to have the this analog board, and on the bottom of this board, you see this little header right here, and this board sandwiches kind of in between here. There's some pins right here, and this kind of slides together, and then this pops down, and then all of this sets on top of a Pi Zero. And so normally there'd be a header right here that would be soldered in place. And when you're all done, you end up with something that looks like this. You get this little sandwich pack that you can see all these boards all connecting together. And here's your HDMI output. You get your power right there. And then on the end, you can get this ribbon cable, which then you can attach to different ways. For mine, I have it connected to this 40-pin socket. So if I have a video chip that's socket, I can just pop this out and I can get nice HDMI video very easily. Bob did his little board that you guys might have seen. He did that earlier this year or last year. He did that little real thin board that you can solder to the underside of your CoCo, so you don't have to do any desoldering of the vid chip if you don't need to. But the reason I wanted to show this is that audio has always been a problem, and recently Aaron on the Retro Hack Shack, he did a video showing this little board. This is what I wanted to really show you guys. And what this does is on the top of your main hat, this gets there. You can see all these little pins right here. It's kind of hard to see, but these pins kind of project up. This would set right here, and you would solder right through the top there. There's only a couple of them. There's about 8 pins that you have to solder. And then you can buy one of these cables here, and you solder that to the 3 tabs that are right here. And then you can use this to input audio. Now you can also, you could just run some wires directly from like on a CoCo, you could just tap right into the audio and take it in here. And then what this will do is this will take the audio and bring it into the HDMI. So now you can get your HDMI audio through if you're using, let's say a HDMI, like a TV set, you now can get your audio that way instead of having to have separate speakers or anything like that. So he's blending the two. So
and that helps to avoid the cost of doing it the quote unquote proper way, because HDMI wanted to charge you an arm and a leg to add audio.
There's a charge for it there. So if you already have one of the HDMI or RGB to HDMI boards, he sells these on his website there. I think they're $25 for this little board. But yeah, it might be a nice way. So that way it just kind of cleans everything up a little bit. So
I got one coming to me.
You got one coming? There you go. So yeah, it's a nice little board. I'm going
to try to replace the 6-pin socket on the RGB to HDMI with a 10-pin so that I can just run a cable from a CoCo 3 into that.
Oh, okay.
And I'm going to use the 10-pin so that the 6-pin would still fit theoretically.
Right. Okay. Would you, so you can take it right from the top there and then go straight in that way?
Yeah, just use one of the pins for audio.
Yep, one of the pins there. So let's hear, did I see a question pop up there for, did Richard have a question there? Oh.
No,
Anyway.
I don't have a question.
Oh, okay. So I saw your name pop up there. I thought maybe you were posting a question there. Sorry.
No,
okay.
no, I was just running late. So
okay, no worries. So yeah, unless anybody else has any questions or any discussion about that, I'll move on to my next thing here. Let's see here. I need to set something up here. I'm not using my overhead camera because it's been not cooperating well here as far as that goes. So, you guys might have seen on Facebook there, and Antonio's been doing some 3D printing with his cartridge case there, where he was messing around trying to come up with a different way of making that little. Well, he made one and he sent it to me. He asked me. This showed up in the mail the other day. So he's been working on these. You guys might have seen his post there where he was playing around with different.
Yeah, we showed it on the show actually. Yeah.
Yeah, different bearing.
He's got a couple different sizes and.
Yeah, so he printed one of these and sent it to me. So that was really kind of cool. And so you can see here he has this little website here. Oh, you got the Tandy right here, and then he made it customized. He put my name on it. So that was kind of cool there. But
darn, when you bring it to the fest, I can't sneak off with it now because I know who it
right,
belongs to.
Right.
So and he has the spacing nice because the cartridges they just don't flop in. You have to give it just a little bit of a push. Yep.
Nice.
So then because you can see here how they kind of hang out quite a bit right there, but there's just enough depth there so your ROM cartridges and with that metal bearing that he has in there, it spins really nice. So yeah, I really appreciate that. A shout out to him there. He surprised me with this one, so that was nice.
And they won't fly out if you spin it really fast.
Right?
Let's find out.
Find out. Get a motor hooked up on it, and then you got the little diamond on the top here too, where it says Tower of Power and Tandy up on top of there. So, but anyway, it does kind of come in pieces though. This comes off right here, and it's hollow.
Oh, there's a hidden stash in the top.
Yeah, you can hide stuff inside here if you wanted to. Yeah.
That's where you hide the manuals.
There you go. Yeah, that'd be a good idea. So, but anyway, so it all kind of comes together. So yeah, thank you very much, Antonio. But this is very nice. So it'd be handy. That's all I have today, guys.
Cool.
Okay, that was any others? That was everybody I had on my list.
Oh,
Henry Strickland, you were kind of talking about it during the pre-show. Did you have something you want to show today, or?
I don't really have a demo. What I've been working on in the past week is the single board computer, the TFR9 that's got the Hitachi 6309 chip and a Pipico, and I've got actually a couple of users now have been writing me and showing me their bugs and fixing that for them and cleaning up the source code so that people will be able to do it themselves. I really did these in quite in a hasty hurry to get 50 of these before CoCo Fest and just enough code running on them to prove that they worked, but was putting a lot more time on the NICOD OS before going to CoCo Fest. So now I'm doing a little cleanup where my make files and all had hard coded paths and were, clearly not done professionally. So don't have flashy things to show right now. I can say that there is a new version of OS 9 level 1 that's been done by Boise during his PhD work, and it's called Turbo 9, and we've now seen it running on real hardware, maybe for the first time. I think he might have been simulated until now, but
oh, awesome!
I've got it booting, so there's progress.
Cool. And I think Mark B, you might have saw in the chat there. I think Richard Lobieski has something, a picture to show or something.
Yeah, it's a quick picture. It just arrived an hour ago, so
that's why you were late.
Yeah, I'm trying to see how I can do this.
Well,
the screen.
As soon
There
as
we
I
go.
spotlighted you, you froze.
Oh. Can you see me now, or? Okay.
You see your screen.
Okay, so
The
You're
main part.
sharing.
There you go.
Yeah.
Oops.
Let's see here. There we go.
Windows
Yep.
is yeah.
My 3D printer has arrived.
Awesome. Look at that.
Cool.
Yeah.
Carbon.
So, yeah, it's a Bambu Labs X1 Carbon. Yeah, I ordered it about 3 days ago, and it arrived in the mail. Well, it was three boxes, and this was the last one that arrived like an hour ago, which was the printer itself. What I like about this particular one, it's really geared for beginners because it has everything already included, and you don't have to mess with any mods or anything like that. So, because I don't know a whole lot about 3D printing. I mean, I just know what it does, but I don't have really any experience with it. So that's why I chose this particular model.
Is that one of the models that you can have up to 4 different filaments coming in?
Yes.
Okay, excellent.
Yes. So yeah, it has all the filaments in it and the software. I'm sure, once I get used to this one, I'll buy something else. But I just when I made the SDC cards and I didn't have cases, and I was just like, yeah, this was kind of a bummer. So, and my wife she does these diamond paintings, and she wants me to do some 3D printing. So that was the other reason we bought this thing.
So it's spouse approved too. That's a rarity in the 3D printing business.
Well, yeah, and you can probably print with it because if you have something like an Ender 3, you become more of a 3D mechanic than a 3D printer user.
Right, exactly.
Really good at balancing things and leveling and glue sticking and stuff that Richard doesn't want to deal with.
Yeah, I just don't have time to deal with any of this stuff. I just want it to print right now. And then, once I get to know this really well and say, okay, there's other features that I want and stuff, then I'll go ahead and buy something else, But I just needed something that I can crank stuff out, like SDC cards if people wanted them. So.
Nice.
Now, is this one capable of printing the Pringle type cases that Rick's been working on, or?
No.
That would be an advanced course in this printer.
Yeah. Exactly.
I might have interrupted Henry. Were you going to say something, Henry? Sorry.
Nah, it's all good.
Oh, okay.
So
cool.
yeah,
I'm sure you'll have fun with that.
I'm envious. Yes, I want one just cause.
So, yep, that's what I'm going to be playing with probably after the show.
And a nice enclosed printer like that, you can put it anywhere. It can sit next to you on the desk.
Right.
It doesn't have to be in a special room with nice humidity and.
Right. Yeah, it's going in the garage on my workbench. So. Yeah, and I'm still working on SDC cards. Yes, in Texas. It's air conditioned, so.
Oh, okay. Their garage is much nicer than my garage.
No, I got one of these portable air conditioner units that can move all around the floor and stuff, and it has a little output that I have it hooked up to into the wall.
Okay, because Texas, it's going to be humidity plus heat.
Right.
Which is a deadly combination for PLA.
It's just going to be a puddle.
You're right.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Cool. And it looks like it came through in good shape and didn't get damaged in shipping or anything. So that's
no, it was well packed. I mean, I was unpacking it and I just set it down, took a picture, and just left it. I said, "Oh, I need to get on the show here." So, there's a lot of things that have to be set up on it. So,
look forward to your product.
Yes. So that was it.
We put together a 3D printer at work, and they sent a box of parts, and we had to 3D print half of it.
Nice. With your existing 3D printer you don't have yet, right?
That's like printer inception or something, isn't it?
Yes.
It's like a second model, so it's like you have to have one already to print the parts you need to put this one together.
Perfect.
That's a good way to boost sales, I guess. You have to buy 2 of them.
Let's see. All right, there we go. Gallery. Okay, that was everybody I had on the project updates. Any more of them?
Nothing for me.
Okay, then I guess we're ready for first commercial break.
Hello, everyone. It's your good buddy, your good pal, Amigo, and joined by that dastardly The Brent from ARG Presents.
You're watching CoCoNation.
I feel like that should have been longer.
The CoCoNation show would like to thank the following patrons: AC's 8-Bit Zone, Alex Gayer, Alan Huffman, Boysentech, Brendan Donahue, Brian Walsh, Brian Weasler, Kieran Ascom, Coconut Bob, Daddy Burrito, David Ladd, Derek Smithson, Diego BF109, Don Barber, Eric Canales, Frederick Sagard, Glenn Hewlett, Graham Wabke, Grant Leedy, Henry Gernhardt, Henry Strickland, Jason Warrens, Jim Mullis, Jeffrey Drywater, Justin Larson, Ken Reichard, Patrick Euland, Paul Fuscarelli, Paul Shoemaker, R. Allen Murphy, Retro Tech Time, Richard Harding, Rob Inman, Rocky Hill, Steve Bateson, Tech Dungeon, Terry Trapp, TJB Chris, Tom C., Tom Gunderson, Tom S., and William Athing. Thank you so much, patrons. If you would like to support the CoCoNation show, sign up at patreon.thecoconation.com.
Hey everyone, I'm TJB Chris, and I'm watching the CoCoNation live show, and so are you. And probably shouldn't be pointing that thing at you. Enjoy!
Welcome to everybody's favorite segment, Who's New to Discord?
Eddie says, "Hi, my name is Eddie. Been a CoCo fan from Australia since the 80s. Haven't actively been in the scene for decades, but excited to see how far it's now developed. Just bought some upgrade gear to spec up my CoCo 3. Never proper used Discord before, but it seems a good place to be for this kind of thing." Cedric says, "Hi all. To keep it short, about 35 years ago, my parents bought me a CoCo 3, and it's on that machine that I learned to program in BASIC and assembly. About a month ago, I started building a hardware emulator for the CoCo, running on an ESP32 microcontroller. I honestly didn't realize the CoCo still had such an active community, so, hello everyone." The previous bios were edited for time. Thanks to Boysentech, Frederick Micro Hobbyist Sagard, Glenside Computer Club, Paul Fiscarelli, Paul Shoemaker, Tandy Color Computer 3, Wingnut 2626, and the CoCoNation patrons for boosting the server. Please consider joining Discord and visiting the welcome section to read these bios in full and see what the community has to offer. Just go to discord.thecoconation.com.
See you on Discord.
When you want the latest in TRS-80, Tandy, Dragon, MC-10, and all of their hardware cousins, no matter what it takes, or where news breaks, from around the world to your nation, the CoCoNation News with L Curtis Boyle.
You know,
Unfortunately, that hair on fire is no longer a simulation because we got so many fires up north. Okay, as our new tradition, we'll be going through Dragon-related news first so that the Dragon people watching live can actually have a chance to go to sleep at a decent time in the evening. So first up, I've got a post from Julian. I think he's cross-posted this to Facebook as well, but this is coming off the World of Dragon forum archives. And it's basically a kind of a summary update of his Dragon ATX project. So he mentions that the ATX machine is running, and basically everything except the cartridge port, the real-time clock, and expanded audio is built and working. And now he's kind of going through some of the other subboards. I think he's got video boards and serial boards and stuff like that. He's kind of, tweaking designs and stuff now to kind of update him. Sounds like kind of what Henry Strickland was mentioning earlier, where he's, he's just received the board revision 3 and he's already designing revision 6 type thing. But he kind of goes through a nice long explanation here. I won't read the whole thing. You can check it out on the forum itself here. But he's got some pretty interesting things he's planning on trying, like, getting 512 possible colors and, direct RGB output and all kinds of stuff. So, and this, AY sound chips, etc. So looking forward to that. And then on Facebook itself there, he also shows a picture here of his plan of an updated video board here. And he's planning, as he says here on the post, and I'll read it out for those that are listening. Opting to use the massive PLCC for the core CPLD chip uses up all the real estate on the board, but makes routing so much easier. This is a halfway house on the design, not just for the straight swap of 6847, which is the VDG functionality, but introducing some of the logic required to make the extra functions work. Even if the only thing you can do is swap between NTSC and PAL, and that's one thing he's been trying to do this design, is that you'll swap different board stuff, but now he's trying to get this one board to be able to handle both of those. Which would be kind of awesome because you just get the one board, and then if you travel and show it off at a show in a different country with a different video refresh, won't be a problem. He said there's enough spare I/O on the big chip that I can safely ditch the data path control, so this is a bit of overkill, but I also need to make sure that it works as intended so that this can double up as a prototype for that too without upsetting the rest of the design. Still lots to do, but getting much closer to reality. I'm so glad I built the ATX setup. The hurdles to getting this done are just falling away. And that's one of the big things he was doing is he's trying to compartmentalize each of these boards that plug in so that you don't have to make one motherboard where everything has to work. Now you can actually do it like a PC design where you add in your video card, you add in your sound card and that type of thing. So that basically the main board handles the main part of it, but you can start upgrading other things just by swapping cards basically instead of the whole darn thing or designing the whole darn thing at once. Next up, we got an update from John Whitworth. He's got his SuperRGB boards available via eBay and also on his own website. I'm just showing his website here in this case. Now, he has a bit of a warning here. See, please be aware, if you're ordering from overseas, you will be liable for import tax and duty on any goods purchased from us. We are not enrolled in any automated tax solutions. Due to GPSR, all sales to the EU are currently suspended. I think he's kind of getting that fixed up, but yeah, I mean, the whole dealing with tariffs and taxes and borders and stuff is kind of a pain in the butt. But at any rate, he's got a SuperRGB board out. It's based on Phil Harvey Smith's original Dragon RGB board. It basically outputs clear RGB for both Dragons and CoCo 1s and 2s. So anything with a VDG, basically. Plugs straight into the VDG socket. And it even works with the T1 variant as well. So basically, you'll get a pure RGB output. And you can pump that into like a CM8 or a Magnavox, etc. And in addition to that, he's also got... Oh, did I grab the wrong link? Oops. No, I did have the wrong link in the notes. I'll just mention what it is. So he's got his extender cable, and it's basically a little cable. Actually, I might be able to find it here in a sec. It's a 40-pin socket extender, basically, is what it is. And he's using it for if you need to reroute something, like to fit something, like say a Gimme X or a Gimme Z or some other upgrades that the Dragon has, that you have this little extender so you can actually take and move a chip out of the way physically. Because it's very, very low profile, and it's basically a 40-pin socket like Brian was showing earlier, with a bit of a ribbon cable on it, so you can actually kind of like move the chip out of the way so you could actually fit in some of the satellite boards. And I'm trying to see if I can find it here.
I think I saw it on Facebook a while back, didn't I?
Yeah, I obviously I forgot to copy the link and duplicated the one I had for his other product, but no, that's not quite it. Here's SuperRGB. Well, I'm not going to spend the whole show looking for it, but yeah, we've shown it on the show before several months ago when he first brought it up. But basically, he's got that back in stock and on sale too. So it's basically a 40-pin adapter with a ribbon cable that you can extend where the chip goes, so it doesn't have to go in the actual sockets. You can actually like move the CPU out of the way of a satellite board or because especially with the CoCo, there's different designs of the different boards, motherboard revisions. For example, the CoCo 1s versus the CoCo 2s, and there's definitely different versions of each, the PAL versus NTSC, etc. So it allows you to actually create some room that some of these things, that have a tight fit or don't fit at all, depending on which revision, rather than having to redesign your main product that you're trying to put in to fit all these different circuit boards. And I'm sure, Rick can attest to this on, say, keyboard design. But basically it'll allow you to actually just kind of get around it. You just put this little adapter in and then you move the chip out of your way and then you can fit the thing in just fine. And that's available too. So I'll see if I can find it for next week here, and we'll kind of go into more detail of it. And then this was an interesting one. So this is a YouTube channel called Reselling Ashley. And basically this guy goes around to the equivalents of garage sales. I think they call them the particular one. This is out of the backs of cars. So car boot sale, and some of the UK users in the chat can explain to me exactly what that means there. But it sounds like garage sales out of your car instead of out of your garage.
Yes,
and he went
the boot is the trunk.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's what that meant. I forgot about that.
They're tailgating, except they're selling stuff.
Yeah. So it's like VCF East, when it was too overflowed and everything was, or VCF Midwest, I should say, that one year when they were overflowed in the parking lot, selling everything out of the back of the cars. So anyway, he goes through and he basically buys stuff to resell it. So he's trying to find treasures that are on for cheap. And one of the things he actually found was a dragon. So I'm going to just play that little clip here.
How much is this guy?
£2.
£2? You have a deal.
Well, that's how much he sold it for.
Thank you very much.
So he made about 8 times the money.
Oh, like American Pickers, huh?
Yeah, kind of.
Which one is it?
That's a camera. Let's get that one.
I think I used to have that
like
camera.
that. Yeah,
Right.
totally just like that.
Yeah, it's a Samsung, I think. If I remember.
Well, if you don't ask, you don't get.
We used to have something like this in
Cable
Dallas
guys, it's
called
like a
First
controller
Saturday.
holder thing.
Okay.
And then just one. But
In Silicon Valley tomorrow morning, there's the electronics flea market at De Anza College, I believe. Bright and early.
Right.
So he finds a box with a Dragon 32 and a bunch of other stuff.
60.
If it's worth how much is it backlog?
And he had to kind of wait in line, which he wasn't too impressed with.
I don't know.
I think that, yeah, that's with Dragon, they go with Dragon 32.
Oh, you won't just sell it on its own?
Not with, no.
Alright, let's have a look. I'll pull some out.
The,
Has this got all cables? Do you do 50 on that, love?
just gives half a minute.
Okay.
So basically, he's going to get that whole box for £50.
Retro, isn't
Going
it?
back to 80s.
Yeah.
Now, he does mention in the text that it's a non-working one, so it's more meant for repairs and stuff. But there's enough other stuff in the box to make it worth the £50. And he actually sold the parts for $44.99, so he just about recovered the cost of that entire box, just reselling the Dragon that doesn't work.
Yeah.
I take it's working.
It was when he put it away.
Yeah.
All them years
But you
ago.
can see in the box behind where the money just popped up here, there's other Dragon-related materials in there too, so it's not just the Dragon 32 itself. And there's a joystick he got in there that he sold that, and between just the Dragon and the joystick, he already made the money back and then some. So
How much is that?
I know I've covered like an American version of this. We had somebody else that was kind of I think going through Tennessee or something like that, and was buying old CoCo 1 and 2 parts for dirt cheap. Is that something any of you guys on the panel have been involved with? Kind of hitting the garage sale market as opposed to like the Goodwills and stuff? And
Not
have you
so
guys had any-
much.
30 years ago, but
Yeah, not so much anymore. It's like they now have a reputation for being valuable and don't show up in garage sales as much.
Okay.
Because I still do that. I still make a living reselling stuff, and I just don't see cool tech anymore.
Back about 4 or 5 years ago, I got 2 Model 100, for $1 a piece.
the
Right.
the first Saturday sale I was mentioning, that's where I believe they found that prototype CoCo 1 or CoCo 2 or whatever it was. serial number 1 at the first Saturday sale, because a lot of people would go and get stuff from National Parts Surplus and then try to sell it over at first Saturday. Yeah, this was held in,
I guess if you're in the Tandy area, like Fort Worth, Dallas, there at the time when Tandy was shutting down, you probably got a whole bunch of stuff that you could have found.
well, it was just
Right.
it was just during the late 80s and 90s. Radio Shack would have a lot of surplus stuff that they would get rid of, and you could pick it up for pennies on the dollar if you knew what you were looking for. They also had a lot of bootleg pirated copies of all kinds of programs, that you could get too. But
in the 70s, when I was working, it was usually somebody would back up their car to you while you were working. I was working outside, and they opened the trunk, and there would be probably stolen stuff in the trunk for sale cheap. It's usually tools or, tape recorders, or,
Right.
stuff like that. But it was never really cool to buy it that way. Unless,
yeah, there was one guy that had a trailer full of stereo parts, and all the cords were cut, and we all knew, that stuff is hot. So we
yeah.
So this
we
is a
avoided
fun.
that one.
This is a fun table. So we've got a dragon, and then we've got a come along suitable for pulling an engine or getting your.
Yeah.
That's a wide variety.
Yeah, because those go together like peanut butter and jelly, right?
Oh yes, they do.
Back in the early 90s, I was out at Traders Village here in Dallas, actually Grand Prairie, but that's like a permanent swap meet that it's every weekend. But I managed to snag the box that had a CoCo 2, had a couple of cartridges, including the audio spectrum analyzer, a couple of Black Beauties, and some other crap for $20.
Well, I wouldn't call it crap though.
Right?
It wasn't CoCo related stuff.
Yeah, that's crap. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Packing material. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, the first Saturday sale was near downtown Dallas. I believe it was off of not Ross Avenue, but it was somewhere in that area. It was underneath the freeway, and
that was where I got my first CD-ROM.
Yep, and it was very popular. And then all of a sudden, all the professional people started selling stuff, and then they started charging money, and the city clamped down, and they really ruined it. And I don't even know if it's still going or not.
No,
I don't think it is.
With COVID.
Yeah.
It definitely quit with COVID if it was still going by then.
Yeah, it's a shame because it was actually a really cool thing to do on the Saturday.
Yeah. I just want to mention a couple of comments that happened in the chat here, kind of related to some of this. So the first one is from Tim Gilberts, and he says, liking the new format, able to come back from the pub and see the Dragon news instead of having to go to sleep till the next day. Where's the second one I wanted to read out here?
Nicely. I'm confused, Tim. What is this come back from the pub thing?
Oh, yeah, here. David Lord says, Tandy opened the warehouse and sold stuff by the pallet when they were going under. The stuff I could have purchased. Richard, you weren't around for that, were you?
Yeah, well, no, not when they went out of business, but my friend got a whole bunch. He was still working at the repair shop. When they shut that down, he got a whole bunch of stuff from the repair end.
Yeah, because I heard that they were actually auctioning off like even some of the business papers and stuff, like, so we could find out sales figures, for example. But as far as I know, nobody in the CoCo or Tier City communities actually got a hold of any of that stuff, as far as I know.
They did have an auction. This was like in 2016, 2017, I believe. And they were selling all kinds of stuff. And it was going for hundreds and thousands of dollars, and I was just like, nah, that's just way out of my
I didn't
league.
realize it was that expensive. Okay.
Yeah.
That explains why. Roll the screen back while we're talking so we can see the product instead of just the box.
There you go.
Power supply is nice too.
Yeah. Anyway, occasionally you find these cool videos of people going to garage sales in the States, or these car boot sales in the UK or whatever, and finding stuff that's, an absolute steal because people don't really realize, the whole retro collecting communities out there now, and prices have skyrocketed and they still think, it's worthless. This thing's 40 years old. It doesn't run, the Edge browser. So we're just going to get rid of it for $5 or something like that. So. Okay, so I'm going to stop share and switch to a different window here. I'm going to do things a little bit out of my original planned order. Because I've got some stuff here from the RetroFest that was last week in Swindon in England. And that's got some pictures and some videos and stuff here. We'll let you guys kind of decide how well my sharing is going to work as to whether we stick on that for quite a while or not. So RetroFest UK was a brand new show sponsored by Pixel Addict Magazine, amongst others. And there's some there people have actually been on our show as guests. Because the Pixel Addict magazine, which is basically a general retro magazine, and it's a real magazine. I've actually shown copies of it that I've received from them. But basically, they had a whole special on Tandy. That was their cover story a few months back, and they covered different machines or different games or developers or something like that each time they publish an issue. So in this case here, they were helping sponsor this brand new show, and here's some of the Dragon stuff. Now, some of the people, I think Tim Gilberts was actually there. Richard Harding was there. There's a few other Dragon people that were there too. And here's part of the main microdeal that Chris Poacher, he put up a whole microdeal set up here. And Microdeal was one of the biggest publishers of Dragon software. They relicensed a ton of stuff from the States from companies like Spectral and Tom Mix and Computerware. But they also started bringing out their own titles that were produced in the UK, etc. And you can see some of the tape designs here, which we've always talked about how good their artwork is. Here's some of the original ones when they first came out with the Dragon first came, which is basically a very simple, red banner around with some black ink, and they just have the title on there. And eventually they progressed to full artwork. So that's one of the shots that Richard took. And they showed this one here, some of the Japanese machine stuff, because they basically had a whole bunch of people. By the sounds of it, they had over 5,000 people attend, too. So it was actually pretty good for a first show, covering everything. And then he also posted this one here. I think these posters, some of these he was recreating ones that already had existed, and other ones he actually created himself in the style that they were doing at the time. I don't remember if the Nuremberg Force one is an actual original just blown up, or if it's a kind of a recreation. But you'll actually look in the background here, you can see the Dragon Professional. And this is one of the prototypes they managed to rescue when Dragon Data went under. And this was going to be like a high-end machine. This is going to have an MMU with 768K of RAM. I'm hoping I'm matching the right prototype here. Correct me if I'm wrong in the chat. But it had dual disk drives you can see that were built in. Cartridge slot is still down there. It had a sound chip, if I remember correctly. There's a whole bunch of extra hardware basically in it, but it was meant to run OS 9, OS 9 level 2. So this would have been actually supposed to be coming out around the 84-85 time frame. So this would have been a year or two before the CoCo 3 with more RAM right off the hop and actually some more advanced features like hardware serial ports and all kinds of things. It was not going to be cheap. This is meant to be a business machine. But it was actually going to be quite an advanced OS 9 level 2.
And it wouldn't turn yellow.
Yeah, because it's kind of a gray. Here's a bit of the front. I'll see if I can zoom that up a bit here for those of you who have not seen it. And it says, fragile prototype, please ask before touching. But the keyboard's basically the same. I think it's a slightly different color, but you can see the dual floppy drives. And then the specs here, which I can't quite zoom that far. There's a kind of a zoomed up one. I think we have showed this on the show before because they've actually had it at a couple other shows. It was nice to get it into a general retro show for the public. I think it's only made big appearances at a bit more Dragon-oriented shows before. So this way everybody gets to see, where the Dragon might have gone if they hadn't gone bankrupt. There's the Dragon 64 over here. Let's see if I can go back to this one. Yeah, so it had a 51 by 24 text mode, which would be the graphics screen, but it also had RS-32 hardware port built in, the joystick ports, printer port, which is a real parallel port. We had real-time clock options, all kinds of stuff. So here's the Microdeal where they're showing. Now, Microdeal did publish for other computers a little bit later on besides the Dragon. They did stuff for the Commodore 64, the Commodore 16, I think they did a few org titles and a few other machines around, and some of them were cross-ported, like to the same game on all these different platforms. And you can see, like, he's been trying to collect, Chris Poacher has been trying to collect all the variations, because some of these went through multiple variations on what the artwork design was or the cassette inlay was, sometimes multiple times over and over again. And this is when GEC took over from Dragon Data before it got sold to Eurohard in Spain. So it kind of bounced around in the 83, 84, 85 time frame. And here you can see some of the 32s, 64s. Here's a pre-production prototype. This is dated, I believe, from May of 82. So this is, I think the Dragon got released around August. So this would have been like an early prototype, kind of like the CoCo 1 prototype that Robert Kilgus had, that we've got documentation of. Unfortunately, the actual prototype doesn't seem to exist anymore. But this is more of a later production model prototype.
That one didn't have a case, did it? CoCo 1.
Yeah, the original Robert Kilgus one was on a piece of plywood. That was the one the early developers had. And then Brian Weisler's actually got a pre-production model of the circuit board, which is a little bit different than the actual released board. And this is just starting to show some of the other machines that were out there. But yeah, it got filled up pretty good, and it ran for 2 days. And basically, yeah, they figured they had over 500 people there. So for a first time they've ever done this show, this is the first year it's ever happened. That's a pretty good turnout.
Yeah, that banner on their table's really nice, isn't it?
Yeah,
looks
I
good.
can start to repeat here. Yeah, okay. Another nice thing that Chris did. Chris actually did a presentation on the history of microdeal, and he had a PowerPoint slide presentation. So he actually recorded a video of the presentation. Unfortunately, it's just the slides and not him talking over, because he probably added some more points that aren't on the slides themselves. But it's almost 18 minutes long, and there's a lot of cool stuff in here. Kind of the history, like here's the original building the microdeal was in, which is now a funeral director's home. I don't know if that means something or not. And here's kind of going through some of the, the case or the artwork inlays and stuff here. Goes in, they started on the Dragon and they started expanding, talking about the dongle. That was a copy protection scheme that came up for only one game, which was Buzzard Bait. And then they actually had a competition, which we've covered on the show before, because the person that won the competition actually joined the Dragon group again.
What, to crack it?
Yeah, because basically they said if you can crack it, let's see if I can just rewind this just a hair. Yeah, so this is the dongle, the infamous dongle. And if you didn't have this plugged into the left joystick port, Buzzard Bait wouldn't boot. And that was how you proved that you actually purchased it, because you had to pay for this extra hardware. But what happened is that they actually did a challenge to any of the programmers out there. If you can bypass our dongle here, then you get a prize, like and a little plaque and stuff, which Roy Coates, I think the guy's name was, actually managed to do. And he later became a Dragon game programmer in his own right and wrote stuff like Manic Miner. Yeah, and then here's kind of talking about Roy Coates, so he's kind of talking about it. I don't know if I have a picture of the plaque here. No, let me see the way. Yeah, here's the plaque he got. The Broken Dongle Award.
Yeah.
Kind of looks like a high-res interface almost, except it's missing one plug.
Yeah.
And here's another one that Roy Coates had designed along with a student of his, I guess, and submitted it to Microdeal, and they never heard back, and it never got published. But Chris Poacher actually kind of mocked up what the artwork might have looked like, and duplicated the style of label. And that game is now actually available on the World Dragon Archive if you want to give it a shot. So that's like a lost game that never got published. We've had a few of those in the CoCo market too, like Ricochet and a few others that Creative Computing was going to sell, and then they went under and they never got transferred really to anybody else. And that's a screenshot of the title page called Rebellion. Anyway, I'm not going to go through the whole thing here because we'll be here all day. But there's a lot of really cool stuff in here. There's a lot of stuff I didn't know about, and I generally try to keep up on some of the history stuff here. Of course, Richard Harding, who did some of the earlier photos we saw, is kind of the official Dragon archaeologist and actually has a whole ton of stuff. He's got the original, business papers and stuff from Dragon Data itself, and really knows history and has been collecting the history. And this kind of stuff is really cool that Chris is kind of doing the same thing for Microdeal itself. And like I said, it goes through the stuff with even their transition to trying to sell for 16-bit later on, and some of the serious software they sold. One of the few adventure games they published that they didn't make for the Dragon, but Jim Gary ported it to the MC10. And as he mentions here, and I'll mention this for the audio listeners, basically Chris Poacher contacted Jim Gary and said, I contacted him to see if he could also port to the Dragon, and he did exactly that. So I made a cover to complete the set after 30 years. So the one adventure game in the series that they did, all of them were on the Dragon and the C64 and a few other machines, and that was, except this one. This one was not released on the Dragon 3264. The only one of the series that wasn't, and now it is. So anyway, there's a lot of really cool stuff in there, so I definitely recommend you check out the video. As with all stories, if you go into the CoCo Discord, you can get our show links. There's the news summary channel under the CoCoNation subgroup, and we publish the list of all the stories we cover, the links to all of them, including the few that I copied wrong, apparently. And if you're not on the CoCo Discord or have some reason you don't want to be in the CoCo Discord, if you join the CoCo listserv, the mailing list, you can actually get it published up there as well. I think it's R. Alan Murphy, I think, is the one who usually posts it there, and usually comes out on Sunday, so tomorrow. So you can actually get all the links and stuff from there too and check them out. Next after that, we got a brief little video from Chris Poacher. It's just 30 seconds. I think it's pretty loud crowd noise, but I'll just play it so you can kind of get a feel for the busyness of the place. He's kind of showing off his entire booth that he had, extending several tables. And this is earlier in the day when not everybody showed up yet. Now, he'd published here, he said it got pretty busy fairly quickly. Now, every time I try to play this, it always sticks in this small, stupid window. It won't expand for some stupid reason. Which it's doing again, of course. But you can kind of see as he pans through here how much busier it's gotten. And this was on the first day, I believe. And there were some people that showed up the second day that weren't there the first day. So that was quite a successful launch for a brand new show, I think. Some of the other ones I've seen when they first launch, especially the generic ones for multiple computer systems, you don't usually see 500 plus on the very first run. So that's a pretty good solid start. And of course, this is one that's also being held in the Train Museum. I've seen some other pictures. I probably will have a few of them a little bit later. But basically, if you're into retro trains like steam trains and stuff like that, the whole train museum that this place is held at, you get to see that museum as well. So kind of get a twofer. YouTube channel More Fun Fixing It actually released a video. He actually was both a presenter and an attendee. He did an over-hour video here of attending it and kind of going through all the stuff. You'll see the Dragon pop up in certain places, and some rather famous developers for UK-based games and programs for all kinds of machines. I'll just fast forward a little bit to the actual show. He actually does the whole blogging the drive there, and it was actually a fairly lengthy drive for him. But if I play, like, here's when they're still setting up, so you're going to see kind of a wider array of what was actually being shown without a ton of people in it yet. That's a pretty good sized space.
It's Pete. It's me. Hello, mate. In the flesh. How long did it take to
But they had a lot of really cool old retro stuff that some of it you would see in North America, like Altairs and stuff, and then they got stuff that you probably have never seen before.
Like that, with a modern static RAM. Yeah. To fill in the gaps. Right, yeah. 32K. Yeah.
Guess I don't really need closed captioning on here.
Yeah. So if this goes... New space?
Yeah. It's one of the old teletype terminals.
Know it well. Is he actually printing it as you type?
I was going to say, a few of us in the panel would remember these.
Right.
And you notice here it's typing on the paper here, but it's also producing this on the side as well. Now they're running the program to print out kind of like a paper tape. Yeah, with text.
How much tape have you got?
A banner printing program for a teletype.
Yeah.
What a deal.
Yeah, I'll bet you they have just that one style of font.
Written in there as well. Oh, it's gone up behind that.
I do remember how friggin' loud a room of these is, though.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
At the
I remember
university.
printing off a tape because the school wouldn't pay for storage, so you had to print your program off and then load it back at the next class.
We had the same thing.
Which fits into just under 1K.
Also, some of the international stuff here. There's the mid-sail player, of course.
I don't know how to use that at the moment, so that's just to look pretty.
VT100 terminal. Recognize this thing? Metra Alice 90. That's one of the sequels to the MC10 that the French company produced. This is not based on a VDG. It's not based on a 6803, but it did have some backwards compatibility with BASIC. We've kind of covered it before, but kind of a unique design. I think there's 3 levels of Alice that they eventually proved. The original Alice was basically an MC10 clone in a red case, and then there was the Alice 90, and I can't remember the name of the other one off the top of my head, but they kind of went far above and beyond. Anyway, there's a lot of really cool stuff, and if you're into general retro and you want to get a bit of a flavor for some of the Japanese and UK-based machines that they have there, French-based machines like this one, for example, as well, there's a lot of really cool stuff in the video. Highly recommend it. It's a pretty good summary of the show itself too. You can probably skip all the travelogue stuff unless that stuff interests you, and he does a fair bit of that. So the hour 10 minutes you're seeing here for the video, you can probably lock 10 to 15 minutes off just skipping the travelogue stuff. And the last bit here is one of the attendees there, I don't remember his name offhand, it's not on the screen here, but he actually took some just static photos of stuff. A lot of selfies because first time ever at the show type thing, so you might as well show yourself off being there. But a lot of cool stuff here. And you can see a Retro Rewind shirt, Frank, and this is, in the UK, so. They're setting us up some stuff there. I don't recognize this machine.
It's got the right color, though.
Yeah. And this is Matra, so this is something by the same company that did the Alice, but it's not an Alice thing at all. So they made multiple machines, not just MC10 clones or MC10 sequels.
It's Alice in a different dress. She's going to the prom.
I mean, this Alice here almost looks like a Mac, me.
Right.
Design-wise. The keyboard doesn't. That looks totally different, but. And I think here's a ZX81. This is a Spectrum, but I think it's one of the newer, duplicating the Spectrum type thing, possibly FPGA based or something. Bit wider shot. You can see the whole Chris Poacher Dragon thing. There's Chris himself. And he had multiple tables in a row over here. There's Henry Strick. No, I'm just kidding.
It's all neat,
enough. That's Rick Ulan from the back.
Very neat.
I'm just going to go back to the chat here because some of the people that like Tim Gillis are actually there here because mentioning a bunch of things I was passing. I probably should have been reading these as I was going. Whoops. Yeah, he says best event ever, RetroFest 2025. No, talking about the one big poster for the one game, the big one that was in the corner of Chris's booth. Said, no, that's a cleanup, but from the original artwork he recovered. So that was actually based on the original thing that Dragon would have done themselves. Talking about the... Okay, it sounds like I had the wrong of the 2 Dragon prototypes, the Super Advanced and the Professional. The Professional was also known as the Dragon Alpha, so that's probably why I'm getting them mixed up here. And the MMU-based OS9 Level 2 only machine with I forgot it had twin 6809s. It's called the Dragon Beta. That's not the one. So this is just the business version of the regular Dragon. What else is in here? Tony was one of the organizers of the show, and then Tim Gilbert's also mentioned Pete was the other organizer. The 7768 we showed that went by earlier was one of the UK kit computers, kind of like some of the ones we had in the States. And Tim Gilbert says, we found a 50-year-old bug in the software. Love to hear more about that.
That Jack Tramel's stunt double there in the background?
Could be.
It is. Discount Jack Tramell.
Tim also mentions that Matra, that white Matra we showed you there. He said that was one of only 13. And Tim also mentioned that's a C64 keyboard on the Spectrum. Problem is that we're having like a pretty long lag too, so they may not be able to quite comment in real time as I'm showing these. But here's an Atari with an actual keyboard. Atari XE, Magnavox Odyssey 2, it looks like, which was known as the Video Pack in Europe. Actually, there's several different names it appeared under, depending. But basically, it's Magnavox Odyssey 2.
I like the cartridge with the handle on top. You can rage quit games just...
Yeah, fling it against the wall. You get a lot of good momentum that way, yeah. We need a live demonstration of that on Game On.
Rick, you could add handles.
That
Right.
Is that an Intellivision clone in the middle?
Yep.
And it actually has actual knobs on the controller.
It's a Dick Smith Wizard clone. That's an Australian one, I think, or New Zealand, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. And even Tandy had one. They had their wood grain version of the television called the Tandy Vision.
And there's a Commodore Max.
Yep. Wasn't that the one that was crippled with only 16K of RAM or something?
It's not so much that it was crippled per se, but it wasn't designed to be a full computer. It was more designed to be a game system.
Max might have not have been the right name for...
It's more like the Commodore Minimum, yeah.
Well, compared to a VIC-20, it is Max.
Yeah, because it was basically C64 hardware, just kind of restricted, right?
There's some doubt in the community, but the Max came first.
Yeah, it came out in Japan, didn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like Chevrolet.
This one here is a BBC Micro Torch Unicorn, which looks frigging huge. Here you can see a nice screen they did for RetroFest itself specifically.
Artwork, yeah.
It's a WY55 terminal.
Yeah, and this one, and by the way, is controlling train tracks. You can actually see them on here, and there was one. I think part of the video that I didn't show the whole hour and 10 minutes, I think actually had it running, so you could actually see the trains getting controlled.
Someone should have hooked up to that winch overhead.
Here, you can see it a little bit better here, so you can see a little bit of the train tracks.
It's got proper bumpers so you don't wreck your computer with your train. So.
And a PDP-11 with all the switches on the front. That's a more primitive PDP-11 than we had at work, I'll say that.
You guys with trains, how did they make the smoke come out of the stack?
It used a small little...
yeah, castor oil, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You just overclock the chip until the smoke comes out, that's all.
Yeah.
With a small little filament that would heat it up and create smoke.
I always thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, your mom always yelled, though, because of the smoke smell. So
Here's a bunch of the Acorn systems, including the Acorn Atom, which is actually a VDG-based. Uses the same graphics chip as the CoCo. Which you can tell by looking at their games. You can tell it's a VDG. Yeah, Tim Gilbert's mentioned in the chat. We are planning to use the winch to get in the full PDP next year.
Sweet.
And you guys should recognize this guy here, the head of Sinclair, rendered in low res.
Yes, sir.
Beard
If you went on a
color is
terminal,
wrong.
was that Henry?
The beard color is wrong.
Not supposed to be green.
No, it's not supposed to be black.
Well, it depends on the year, I guess.
He was a redhead.
Well, look at the palette we got.
That palette should have had red with green.
Not okay.
Here you can pre-order a 6 to 8,000 at least.
Okay.
So they're bringing out, they're kind of like they are doing in North America too, where you're bringing out modern versions of machines and, or, you know, duplications of machines using modern FPGAs and stuff. There's a lot of that going on there too. That's a Commodore or something or other too, isn't it? 128, is that? I can't quite tell.
Where?
I'm hardly a Commodore expert. This one here?
No, it's an
I think it's this Commodore.
1200.
Oh, 1200? Okay.
Yeah, it's an Amiga.
I noticed it's got 3D glasses like I've demonstrated at BoatFest.
Mm-hmm.
But here you can see it definitely filled up. It was like pretty well standing room only at certain points. So a big congratulations to them on having such a successful first show. So I hope this one keeps going, because I'd love to go see the Dragon, you know, specific show and this one and the cave. Like there's so many things to go see.
They've got young people and ladies in there.
And I think everything that you're looking for is actually in England, maybe some of it in Wales. So that's like what, half the size, maybe a quarter of the size of your province?
Yeah. Literally.
Easy drive to everywhere.
Yeah. It was funny because watching that video, the long one where he does the blogging, he was complaining, oh, Jesus, it's taking so long to get there. Because he left in the afternoon, didn't get there until the sun was just about down. I'm going, that's me driving to the border. You know, go to CoCoFest. And that's only the first quarter of the trip.
Yep.
There's the Grant clone too. So they seem to have cloned all the famous people from up here in North America.
Right? It's getting scary.
Yeah, but they don't have a Sloopy.
Yeah. They do have a court jester though. So, you know.
And they have a Henry H or Henry G.
They do?
Yeah, right there in the middle.
That looks a bit more like Brian Weasler to me. What do you think?
Yeah. Yeah, it strikes me more.
Kind of a cross, yeah.
God help us, everyone.
And of course, some YouTubers are represented there. There's RetroTech Repair. We actually have played one or two of his videos because I think he repaired a Dragon not too long ago. I think we covered. This obviously isn't it, but selfie stuff. I'll just skip over. Yeah, it's that same Commodore I think we were looking at earlier with the 3D glasses sitting on it. What did you say it was exactly, Slippy?
That's an Amiga 1200.
Oh, it's Amiga 1200. Okay. Yeah, I'm more familiar with like the 500 to 600. I'm not too familiar with the 12s.
Yeah.
Here's the full train system that they demoed in the video, being controlled by old 8-bit machines. It says here from 1979, so that's earlier on. And very appropriate because you're in a train museum, right?
Yep.
Some Amiga stuff. There's more Dragon, Amstrads, Spectrums, all kinds of stuff. I'm still not used to seeing buzzard bait in that color set, but you know, that's what they had to work with. The sea of green.
Did anyone see a color computer there at all?
I didn't see any. Now, Tim Gilberts, who's live in the chat here, was actually there. If he can let us know if there's any CoCos there. Like Tandy did sell the CoCo 1 and 2 there. It was incredibly expensive compared to the Dragon. So I don't think it sold all that well. But Micro did sell specifically for Tandy color computer 16K machines and 32K machines, some of their games too. So they definitely had a presence. It wasn't a huge one. So I'm kind of curious if there was any CoCos down there. And of course, the CoCo 3 was never sold in Europe at all, UK or Europe. That's the old Commodore Portable that Frank usually brings out with him to his shows. Anyway, I'm not going to go through them all here, but definitely looks like a successful show. Looks like a lot of fun. There's a lot of machines that a lot of us in North America have never seen, or very rarely seen at least. So there's kind of a different vibe. There's a kind of a different history there. So it'd be kind of interesting to see that just for the history's sake, and then of course to see all the Dragon micro deal stuff, etc. Definitely one on my bucket list. You'll see. Anyway, wanted to cover those before we go back into the regular news again. And remember where I put my window here. There we go. Okay, so some compiler updates to start off. First of all, Glenn Hewlett has announced that version 4.40 and then a rapid fire 4.41 to fix a bug of his basic to 689 cross compiler. The biggest change this week is he now supports Dragon output, so you can actually create Dragon games and programs. Now, this is one that is designed specifically for CoCo, and it outputs CoCo assembly language code only. So it's definitely got the best advantage as far as speed goes. Like there's other ones like UG Basic, Microgames Basic that we're covering. There's an update for that too as well. But this is one specifically fine-tuned for the CoCo 1, 2, 3, and now the Dragon 32 and 64. And if you want the absolute best performance writing in a basic style language as opposed to doing assembly, this would be the one to pick. If you want to make something for multiple platforms, including the CoCo and Dragons, then you probably want to use Microgames Basic because this will not do that. The other big thing is he actually did some crunching on the keyboard routines here. So he's removed keyboard input.asm as the in key and input commands no longer use it, and it should save about 300 bytes for the compiled actual code size. So 300 bytes back for you to write bigger programs, for example. You can go download this from his GitHub link. Once again, that's in the show notes if you want to go grab it. And now it's full Dragon support, and it even automatically handles the keyboard mapping. So one of the big differences between the Dragon and CoCo, which are very compatible on a hardware level otherwise, is that the rows on the PIA of what set of keys are on which row is different. So if you go hit an A on one, it'll be like a G on another. I'm just making up the actual keys because I don't remember off the top of my head. But basically, it'll give you the wrong key presses. But the compiler here, if you tell it to compile for Dragon, it automatically will translate that for you. So if you want to create, a version for Dragon and a CoCo, a keyboard-based game or a keyboard-based program, no problem. And then, of course, Microgames Basic itself went through multiple updates this week. And this is on the main branch. I'm not even checking the beta branch. Most of the stuff they did this last week was mostly bug fixes. But they've also added in support for string constants in data statements using square brackets. So that's a kind of a cool feature, and that's added on for all the platforms. And most of the bug fixes, he did a whole bunch of 689 and CoCo-based bug fixes a couple weeks ago. This seems to be kind of catching up some of the other machines like C64s, et cetera. So there's not too much specific for the CoCo except for this new data statement thing. And if you want to really go nuts, you can kind of check the beta branch. Oh, nothing on the beta branch at the moment. Anyway, both of these compilers are getting worked on almost daily. Like we're getting updates almost every week, and they've both been progressing like really, really well. And it's basically just what is your target. This will compile pretty good, better than any of the native CoCo compilers from back in the day that I remember. But it won't be as fast as Glenn's. On the other hand, you can compile it for like 150 different systems, kind of like the Infinitive guys do with their C compiler for all the Infinitive games. So depending on what your target market is for a game you're working on, if you want to go strictly CoCo and as fast as you can with all the support for the CoCo 3 modes and even modes that are not supported by BASIC or OS 9, because the Gimme has a whole whack load of modes that are generally not used. You basically just have to pick your poison as to which way you want to go and what your ultimate goal is. Next up after that, Juan Castro's been working on updates to HDB DOS, and it's been a while since I've covered this because he's done updates on occasion in between. But basically, he posted updates on the mailing list, the listserv thing, and some things he's added. So basically, one of the things he's been trying to do is he's been trying to get it so that HDB DOS, which is like an extended ROM, it's like a 16K ROM DOS, so it's a huge thing. But he's trying to get it so that it'll actually load, even on a CoCo 1 or 2, it'll load CoCo 3 basic programs and actually know what the tokens mean instead of just showing you exclamation marks and crap. So you can actually load it in. So some of the functions that were on the CoCo 3 basic are now enabled for CoCo 1s and 2s. And an example of that is on-air go-to. That now is fully implemented and then basically makes it compatible between the two. But he's also been taking some of the commands that are unique to the CoCo 3 and require CoCo 3 hardware accepting them as you load them into BASIC using HDB DOS, but then using them for different functions. Now, that may be not the most compatible thing, but it means you can, reuse tokens that already exist while maintaining that backwards compatibility to load. And he's got a whole bunch of different builds here, as you can see. He's got stuff for Arduinos and Becker ports and Cloud9 SCSI interface and the CoCo SDC and all the different distos and DriveWire and IDE and blah, 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 blah. So he's got a whole bunch of versions you can download. And he's got a kind of a to-do list of some stuff he still wants to do. But some of the changes that he's mentioned here, I'll just go through a few of them, but there's some pretty interesting stuff. But first of all, he's accepting the width command and the locate command that the CoCo 3 handle to actually do graphical text. So you can actually do a 51 by 24 screen or 64 by 24 screen with, lowercase and stuff, the same way the Telewriter and Supercolor Writer and VIP Writer and all those types of things. Except this is in BASIC. And basically you can do width 51 and width 64 on a CoCo 1 or 2, and then you get the graphic mode with all the text there. And basically it means you can kind of, work on backwards compatibility with the CoCo 3 a little bit easier. So if you need to do a 40 column screen, you do a width 40 on a CoCo 3, you could do a width 51 on the CoCo 1 and 2, and it'll do the smaller character font, but you can basically make sure the screen fits. Locate works as expected, works in the 32 by 16 screen, unlike the CoCo 3. So print at still works just like it does on a 30 column screen now on a CoCo 1 or 2, but locate will now work on both. You can run it on a 30 column screen, or on a CoCo 3 you can run on the 40 and 80 column screen. DIR output uses the very available screen width, so it detects what the screen width is and will fit more files on the on the screen that you can see without it scrolling off. You have a full directory. He's added in timer L function, similar to timer, but it does a 32-bit number, so you can actually differentiate up to 2 years and 98.5 days, which actually kind of reminds me that kind of functionality was added in the deluxe ROM on the deluxe CoCo that never got released. 8-set mem copy, so he's doing some stuff there. H-set will let you switch between the two color sets. H-point has been completely repurposed. So H.0, like H-point will return normally, like what is the pixel color on this particular location that you put on the screen. On H.0 here on this HDB DOS will actually return whether you're running on a 6809 or a 6309. H.1 will tell you whether a 6309 is running in native mode or not. H.2 will tell you whether BASIC is running from RAM or actual ROM. And basically, he's repurposed a lot of these things, various things. Now, he hasn't got full 609 support in here. He has detection, basically, but he is planning on adding some 609 support later on. So maybe we'll have some like really optimized scrolling routines and screen clears and all kinds of stuff could be added in. There's stuff like redirecting BASIC printer output to DriveWire virtual printers. So you can you'll do a listing to write to a file, basically. Yeah, a whole bunch of stuff here, but he's been doing a lot of really cool things. LPeek and LPoke, that's kind of nice too. On a CoCo 3, LPeek and LPoke let you go outside the 64K workspace through the MMU to grab something from anywhere in 512K. He's repurposed it here on the CoCo 1 and 2 that you basically becomes a long peek and a long poke. So you can send a 16-bit value to return you can read a 16-bit value as one instruction in BASIC with LPeek, and you can write a 16-bit value using LPoke. So it's a little bit different than the way the CoCo 3 version works, but it is actually quite useful because that actually speeds those functions up. One of the big things about BASIC is that everything you're doing here, as far as doing a poke and a peek, basically has to get translated every time. So if you want to, poke two addresses in a row with two different values, it's got to go through the whole rigmarole of translating it from text to floating point to integer, and do all that kind of stuff. And this way, that cuts that almost in half because you're doing 2 bytes at a time. So that actually would help quite a bit with quite a few things that do that type of thing. And he's, like I said, he's still developing this. He's got all this other stuff he's planning on adding in. I'm kind of curious. So has anybody here actually used any of these HDB extensions? Because he's had these going now for months. I'm just wondering if anybody here has actually experimented with them, either in the chat or on the panel. Or are you guys all NIAN users like I am? I don't know.
I haven't played with this. I kind of dislike the reusing of keywords that might break people for no apparent reason.
Yeah, that's it's kind of a mixed bag, because I mean, repurposing them so you can actually load in a CoCo 3 program and you can actually edit it on a CoCo 1 or 2 and then send it back and it doesn't get destroyed because the tokens are all mismatched and stuff like that. Part's kind of nice. You can load it without error. But yeah, repurposing. I mean, some of them kind of make sense, but some of them, yeah, they're completely
like
different functions.
An LP, and now I've done something completely different that I had no idea I was doing.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
Maybe it makes translation a little bit easier, I guess. If you know which ones are changed. And some like H point, I think, if I remember correctly, the regular H point requires 2 parameters. So you can pretty easily tell if this is going to be a, this HDB DOS version of H point requires 1 parameter. So it's kind of like a different syntax. So those two shouldn't be confused. But yeah, there's some other ones that definitely could cause some issues there.
Good start, though.
Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, you only have so much room in the token table until you start getting into the double byte tokens. Next up, Tandy TRS80 is a blog site that actually does some other TRS80 stuff, but it's mainly been CoCo lately. Now, I think I've covered this before quite a while ago. So basically, he's done a few projects here in May, including some stuff with the CoCo DV. You can kind of see on the highlight on the right-hand side here. But one of the things he worked on, and blog posted on May 15th and May 18th, which I missed before. And somebody on the Discord pointed this out to me, so thanks to whoever that was. I don't remember who it was off the top of my head. But basically, he's kind of like he's trying to he got a TDP case that you can see down here in the corner, TP Electronics. So it's TP100, but it was just the case. And he's got a CoCo 1 motherboard that he's put in, but it overheats like crazy. So he's actually adding his own cooler. And he actually mentions, and if Brian Weeser's still here, he's actually got some of these CoCo coolers from the old days. These big clip-on fans that went on the side, opposite of the cartridge port, clipped over top of the actual vent holes and would drive some like cold air in there type thing to cool the machine off. And he's kind of duplicating that in modern times. It almost looks metallic. I think it's actually 3D printed.
Right. But this intake's cooler than the one on my old Monte Carlo.
Here's the one that Brian has been recently getting here, these big things. And then he did a later one here where he did part 2 a few days later. And now he's doing these kind of designs here that go over top of vents.
And now he's got injector hats.
Or cooling towers.
Yeah. So I'm guessing he's a car enthusiast because I did kind of notice he's looking car-like.
Is it turbo next?
Right.
Or is he going to do a supercharger?
I have no idea. I don't know car terms. So like there is a Hemi a thing or something? I don't know. That's about the only word I know. And he was trying to drive it up to as much heat. So he's actually doing like 3D rendering and stuff here with rotations and things here of a shuttle.
I think the word you're looking for that funky looking 2B thingy is a Venturi.
Yes. Yeah.
You're saying words I do not know what they mean.
So if you had 6 individual carburetors, you would have 6 of those on top with no air filters because you don't care if your engine wears out in 2 years. And
I thought knowing what a Venturi tube is was common knowledge.
Yeah, well, those aren't the Venturis because the Venturis are down in the carburetor.
Oh,
well, no,
okay.
This is different. This is on top an intake Venturi, and it's supposed to make a big honking noise so everyone will know you've just floored it.
Ah.
They're like horns.
goes on top of the turbo.
It goes on top of all of your 8 carburetors, so you look like a chrome battleship going down the road with.
Yeah, you wouldn't have these with a turbo.
Nah.
At any rate, I thought it was just kind of cool that he's been blogging stuff fairly regularly. Yeah. He's been doing a lot of CoCo stuff recently here, so he's been doing like
I like the
cooling
metallic
stuff. CoCo
like
DV, which is Alan's project, and
metallic 3D filament. I want some of that.
This one here, or the actual original
the
cooler.
shiny stuff. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go find some of that.
I think he labeled it "Cool My CoCo." Like it's just totally self-explanatory, not some weird product name like all the current web companies.
That
And it's
filament,
in the right
words.
font.
that filament looks more pearlescent than metallic to me.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah.
So he's been blogging pretty regularly here, as you can see, and this blog was created March 2024, but he's had multiple ones in May, and he's done some in April. I think we covered him back probably around this time frame. I'll have to keep an eye on it because I don't think he's active on the Discord. At least I don't know who this is, to be honest. But if anybody here knows, please pipe up. But I'll have to kind of keep an eye on it here because it doesn't just show up in my normal searches. And speaking of CMOC, Pierre Sarrazin actually released he just released a new CMOC update last week. And now he's added a new library called WideAlloc. And I think this is actually for CMOC itself to use. I don't think this is a library that you call from within CMOC, but you guys can correct me wrong because I don't really understand. But it says this library offers a dynamic memory allocator suitable for a 16-bit platform. See functions like malloc and free can be implemented in it. It is distributed under GNU GPL version 3 or later. So I'm guessing this is something that the CMOC compiler itself is using, as opposed to something that you call for a CoCo function from CMOC. Anybody have any comments on that? Because you guys probably know C a lot better than I do. I know it just got announced, so maybe you guys haven't had a chance to fiddle with it. Because some of you people, I think, actually do use CMOC, don't you?
I use CMOC a good bit.
So do you know if this would be something that the CMOC compiler itself uses in its own source code versus stuff over from the description?
I'm sorry, I was chatting with someone else, but what's the change? I noticed
he's created this new library called WideAlloc, and it says that this library offers a dynamic memory allocator suitable for 16-bit platform. C functions like malloc and free can be implemented with it. It's distributed under GNU GPL version 3 or later. The fact he mentions 16-bit, I'm kind of guessing this is meant for the compiler itself to use, as opposed to something that would be a library that the CoCo stuff would call.
Oh yeah, I hear you. I don't actually know.
Okay.
I think CMOC's going to be too big to compile on a 16-bit platform, but maybe that is what the direction he's trying to go.
Okay. No, hopefully I'll get a chance to follow up with him. He's pretty active these days. So.
Ooh. Okay.
Yeah, when I started with CMOC, there were a number of bugs in the standard libraries under OS 9, so I tended to write my own little functions and not use those. But I don't remember if I did my own malloc and free.
Oh, well, this might do it for you.
But we've also fixed a lot of the OS 9 bugs that were in there.
Yeah, because OS 9 wasn't his strong suit. He definitely created this originally for deck B style stuff, and then kind of added it after the fact type thing.
Yeah. Okay.
And here, of course, Simon already sort of demonstrated all this, so I can kind of just skip right over it. But there's another example of a wobble mode using semi-graphics. Okay, next about that, Andrew Ayers, I'm not sure I pronounce his last name, so my apologies, has uploaded a disk image containing some pretty good sound utilities for the CoCo 3 that were originally from Rainbow Magazine, and he posted these to the CoCo Facebook group. So this disk image contains two of them. The first one is Bells and Whistles 2 by Matt Thompson, and I do believe that is the same Matt Thompson that was involved with some of the SCSI drivers back in the day. And SuperPlay, which is a multi-voice play command by Jeremy Spiller. You may recognize his name as being the author of Xenix and the Crystal City, which is a couple of the most technically advanced CoCo 3 games from the late 80s and 1990, back in the day when the CoCo was still being actively sold. So I do remember these articles in Rainbow. They were 87, 88 time frame, if I remember correctly. Yeah, June of 87 for the Bells and Whistles 2. And then SuperPlay was in June of 88 at Rainbow. But if you want to save yourself typing in or trying to hunt down the right Rainbow on disk, and you want to play around with sound from basic, advanced sound, multi-voice sound, etc., then just go grab this right from the CoCo group on Facebook. Next after that, Terry Trapp, the guy who's been running Ribs, had a bit of a problem here. So I'll just read his little post on Facebook. He said, someone has had a little bit of fun at my expense on my Ribs board. Now, we've told you how to telnet onto the board before. And I've actually been still doing sneak previews of what we're going to be talking on the show a day or two early so that people can kind of get a sneak preview to encourage people to go try the BBS out. All you need is a telnet client to hit it. But he said they figured out how to make it hang the whole thing, so he had to reboot by sending a +++ so that the virtual modem in the CoCo Blender board that he's doing the hardware for or interpret the echoes as a command to go into command mode, and it worked. So
25 is like 95.
They were
again.
remotely hanging up his board so that it couldn't function. And there's some of the comments, if you read, actually people have commented and said, yeah, I remember there's some, terminal drivers back in the day that let that through too. But he thinks he's got it all fixed now. So he said, cross his fingers. And I did try to, do that manually yesterday. It did not crash it. So hopefully it'll be a bit more stable, because I know some people were complaining on the listserv and on the Discord that his rib system seemed to be down more often than not. And I think this is what happened. Somebody discovered they could do this and just kept doing it. So
right.
Hopefully it's a bit more stable. And this is the same type of thing when I first wrote my BBS. I didn't have air trapping on my CoCo 1 and 2 at the time. And one of my friends figured out the bug in Microsoft Basic when you do an ampersand without a letter, like H for hex or O for octal, it defaults to octal. So if you do an ampersand 9, that's an illegal digit for octal, and it would just crash out with an error. And it took me quite a while to figure out what the hell he was doing.
So is this challenge accepted?
Like I said, I did a quick test of it, but if anybody wants to, he wants to get his CoCo Blender running stably so that this kind of stuff doesn't happen. So just don't do it anonymously like whoever else is doing it here. Let Terry know. He's active on Facebook. He's active in the Discord. And the Blender board is going to be pretty cool because it's going to have like a SID chip built into it, or the equivalent of a SID chip, plus the remote access modem stuff and a few other hardware bits thrown in all into one card. So you almost don't need a multi-pack to get all this functionality. Next up, Daniel O'Connor has come back after a bit of a hiatus. And she mentioned here, I tried to post this in the group, but it keeps posting to my timeline instead. So she tried to share it, and it did work this time. And basically, she's been working on a music album that actually uses CoCos for some of the control of the sequencers and stuff. And it's probably been a year or two before, since the last time we kind of showed some of the stuff off. But she could add to like kind of this general post here, and this is running out CoCo 1 and some of the things she was doing. But then she also posted a quick video here to actually show a CoCo 1 controlling the drum sequencer. And since it's under a minute, I thought I'd just play it. Still a basic program. So each number on the top there seems to indicate which drum sound you're getting the MIDI to play. So like 100 might be the snare, and 65 might be a cymbal or something. But, a little CoCo 1 here is actually driving a full-blown drum sequencer. And she's actually going to have, when she releases the album, which she's talked about, the last few years and been writing music for it. This is all totally original stuff. The CoCo is actually kind of part of the theme of this whole album, and is actually actively involved in producing some of it. So that's a really cool musical project. Okay, next up, Luciano Scharf posted some pictures here from the 9th Color Rio Club meeting held yesterday in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. And unfortunately, I didn't know about that ahead of time, or I would have put it into our list of upcoming shows. But they do have some pictures from here, so I thought I'd show a few of these. Now, there's a couple shows in Brazil. There's Retro SC, which is a big retro show that covers all retro computers. This one here is specifically for people that have CoCo or CoCo clones from Brazil, like the CP400, CP402, and a whole bunch of others. And as Ron mentioned, they're getting young people out to these too here. So there's an actual CoCo 3 running. And they actually get this. This is the one where I think Brazil has what's called PAL M, which is kind of like PAL timing, but actually does artifacts. Which is kind of cool. Like there you can see Zaxxon playing just fine. I think this is one of Ed's Mega Mini MPIs here. And here's one of the CoCo clones, with, extra keys and stuff all over the place. There's the decompression screen for Sockmaster's Donkey Kong transcode. I mean, this is just CoCo related stuff. Here's the CP100, the first version. So it's a bit of a smaller meeting, but it's cool that there's a CoCo group big enough that they actually have these, and this is the 9th one they've had. So these are, a continuing thing going on. So if you're ever in Brazil and near Rio de Janeiro at the right time of the year there, you can probably pop into one of these. And a few of the people there, like Erico, actually speak English fairly well, so you don't have to learn Portuguese. There's Mooncrest, which actually originally was a dragon game. But a few of them are very active in the CoCo community, even on Facebook and on Discord. Erico being one, Juan Castro, which I believe that's him. I think that's Luciano here, if I remember correctly. Hopefully I'm not getting these all wrong. I'm trying to go from memory. Now, this particular meeting, we've shown some of their earlier meetings tonight. They generally, I think, have themes. I don't know if they had one in this particular, but I've seen that there's a lot of game playing, so maybe that was the theme this time. But sometimes they have like hardware and new joysticks being manufactured and that kind of thing. Anyway, there's a whole bunch of pictures there if you want to check them out. Link once again in the show notes, which you can find in our Discord or on the listserv. Next up, this is kind of interesting. So Joel Evie, who actually owns an MM1, just like David Ladd and a few others, this is one of the CoCo 4s that we're trying to make after Tandy dropped the CoCo 3. He's been trying to disassemble the IFFS utility, which is a graphical viewing utility, I believe, and it's actually based on an Amiga file format. And he's been disassembling the actual code because the source is not around. He said, next dumb question, the IFFS disassembly uses several set calls that I can't find any documentation for. And he lists these 5 here. Now, I don't have any documentation on this either, so I'm hoping maybe some of the people here on the panel or on the watch the show later, like maybe David Ladd or others, might still have some of this documentation. Maybe they have a later version of the documentation than Joel has, because I do know the MM1 kind of had MM1B and a few others as well. I don't know if these also map, like the graphical system that is used by the MM1 was created by Kevin Darling, the same person who did the version 3 of the OS9 Level 2 upgrade that Tandy was going to sell until they dropped the CoCo 3. And I think if I remember correctly from talking to him way back in the day, that he was trying to make the graphical library for doing pull-down menus and stuff very much in common as the way they were doing their Level 2 version 3 upgrade for backwards compatibility. So you could write a program that had pull-down menus and things, and it would actually work identically on both. You could use the same source, basically, for handling all these system calls. I mean, there's some, obviously, enhancements on the MM1 with extra colors, etc. But I don't remember off the top of my head which all calls were in there, so I might have to double-check to see if I still have documentation on some of that. But if anybody has more modern documentation that may have some of this stuff, please let Joel know in the MM1 group on Facebook. And he's actually been talking about a fair bit of this stuff here the last few days. Next up, Steve Strobridge has been doing some more uploads. I kind of forgot about all the other side shows we were doing instead of just CoCo Talk itself. I did remember After Dark, which is what a lot of the ones he's uploaded this last week are, but there's also stuff like Retro Talk, which I kind of forgot we did, Geek Talk. Some of the old timers here will remember some of those here. Retro Talk was basically general retro, not just CoCo related retro, and Geek Talk was cultural stuff that was all geek related. So like, movies and comic books and all kinds of stuff. So I think he's pretty well got almost everything uploaded now. So the complete history of CoCo Talk and its side shows are all available on the CoCo Talk channel on YouTube. Next up, Juan Castro, who we just saw in some of the Rio de Janeiro meetup photos there, actually got interviewed on T-Bike Creators YouTube page. Now, this is in Portuguese, so you have to turn on closed captioning and auto-translate if you don't speak that. Here's showing one of the very first CoCo clone he ever owned, which actually color-wise is pretty close to an actual CoCo 1, but it has like a real keyboard. But But he kind of goes through his history. Like he's in his mid 60s. He's almost as old as Ron. No offense, Ron. But he kind of goes through his original time using mainframes and learning how to program computers and stuff on there. And then he actually got hired by one of the CoCo clone makers and actually did 609 assembly programming for this company. And he kind of goes through his history with that. And then he goes through his history with, working with CoCos and Dragons themselves. And, some of the stuff he's been doing more recently and stuff too. So it's quite an interesting interview, but it's over an hour long. I'm not going to play it here. If you want to check it out, just grab the show link from the notes there on the Discord. But it's actually quite an interesting interview. I actually quite enjoyed it. And I'd learned some stuff about Juan and some of his history that I had no idea about before. So that looks like an empty page. I'm not quite sure what that was. Next up, this was just pointed out to me this morning, actually, from Mr. Dave 609 on the Discord. And basically, Olapex Retrotech, which we have covered his show before, because he's gone through, I think, the Dragon or the MC. No, I think it was more the MC10, the OWL stuff. But basically, he's covering a machine here from Japan called the Sanyo PHC25. And you can see it up here. And now these were somewhat compatible, I guess, with the PC6001 that Sanyo put out. But it's a much smaller footprint machine. But basically, this used a clone of the Z80 as its CPU, but it also used a Mitsubishi clone of the 6847. And it's got a modified character ROM, which is a fair bit different than the stock ones we're used to. So the characters are more like the lower kit that Dennis Bathory Kits did. So it has the characters that are extended up and down and left and right, so it fills the character cell more. Built-in lowercase with descenders is built in, and plus some actual graphic characters, well, not graphic, but special symbols in the text portion of the VDG ROM to give you stuff like playing card symbols and that kind of stuff too. So it's actually kind of an interesting mix of things together. It's not the quickest machine in the world. It does look like it's using a derivative of Microsoft Basic because they do have a play command. It does have an AUI sound chip as an option that you can actually play with the play command as well with multi-voice. I was just going to show a little bit of what the actual screen, basically you can tell as soon as you see it, it's got the colors of a 6847, the same resolution as 6847. It's pretty slow on drawing some of these graphics, but I think the original Microsoft Basic wasn't exactly that quick either. Defaults to inverse video.
I will load the demo, which is in fact a little program found in the official.
You can see here, he's actually got the ready is in upper lowercase mixture. He types C load in lowercase and it works. That is something that not even the CoCo 3 let work properly. The only CoCo that actually allowed you to do lowercase was the Deluxe that never got released. So kind of an interesting juxtaposition there. That's like P mode 4. But here, try to catch it here during the actual listing. You can kind of see that the font definitely fills the character cells. Like you don't have so much space between the characters. But I think it does look a bit more readable, and having a default inverse video is actually quite nice. I mean, there's a lot of articles from Tony DeStefano and others for doing inverse video switches because it's one pin in the VDG, you just got to flip basically. It actually looks quite nice. It is a bit slow though. I can't remember what speed Z80 it was running. If it was a 2 or a 4 megahertz, but interesting thing. And thanks to Mr. Dave for pointing that out. Next up, Keith Frechette posted on the CoCo group on Facebook. He just picked up a CoCo 3 that he thought was 128K just a few weeks ago. And he finally got to open up. He ordered a Cloud 9 2 meg adapter. He's just going to plug it in as a 512 for now and not worry about the DAT and upgrade to 6 thread later on because he's going to have to, desolder the entire CPU here and put it in the socket. But when he opened it up, much to his surprise, it had this Tandy thing on there. So he already had a stock Tandy 512K upgrade. And I got to be honest, none of the people I knew here in my area that had 512K got it from Tandy. All of them ordered the third-party ones because they were cheaper. They generally tended to run cooler from what I understood. And I think Mark Bosley? Somebody had commented that there was 2 versions of the 512K upgrade from Tandy.
Yes, there were 2 versions. Yeah.
So what was the difference? Was it just they modified it to cool it better? Because I know they were prone to heating. From what I remember.
I think it was just different layouts.
Yeah, and I think the issue is because they did it to wave solder, so it's upside down, so the chips are on the bottom. and that's
Yep,
why it
he
runs a
mentioned
little
that.
hot. But the good thing is, you'll notice the little pins, plastic pins that hold the board down.
Spacers. Yeah.
So not only
these-
does it not bottom out through the connectors, which are open bottom, you can short out the motherboard if you cram your RAM upgrade down too hard, but it never comes loose. You can throw the thing across the room and it will keep working. Your kids can't break it. If Sinclair had done this to their 16 Korea upgrade, they would never have needed Blue Tack.
But I was kind of curious for the people on the panel that had a CoCo 3 back in the day. How many of you guys actually got the Tandy 512K upgrade versus getting a third party from Disto or?
I bought one.
I think
you did. Okay.
I have one. It came that way.
Tandy
Wherever I
sold
bought
them to you, but they weren't made that way because it has this AXX part number. Both of their boards had that. So they
I know, and
weren't
I took
made
a
that
look at
way.
it. Like I was thinking of getting one from Radio Shack because we had a ton of Radio Shacks here, but I took the price Radio Shack was selling 512K compared to anybody else, and it was like, an extra $90 or something like that. I'm
Yeah.
like, what the hell am I paying for that for? So nobody I knew up here, and we had quite a few people with 512K. I'd say at least 2 or 3 dozen.
The
None of
difference
them
is-
bought the Tandy one.
Yeah, Andy had to pay
get-
Tandy to put it in.
If you get someone to buy you a computer, then you can get the 512K from Radio Shack cheaper than you can install it yourself.
The most common one I've seen is the performance peripherals one.
Yeah, the PP was good. And
Yeah,
then
for me it was a
Disto
Disto. No,
number
maybe that's
2.
because their Canadian company was easier to order with in Canada. I don't know, but the
I had
Disto
a-
one's the one I see
I had a
most people have.
Disto 1 meg, but the AXX 7117, that's a national parts number.
Yeah. They had another one too, and it was slightly different. It was a little smaller, as I recall.
Yeah, it was squarer.
But
yeah,
they,
and is
they're
this
both
extra shielding here? Because these clips here look like the shielding on the underside. of the
well,
board,
yeah,
too.
you've got their shield, and it's flipped upside down, so all the heat is held in between the two silver pads on the bottom of the motherboard and the top of the RAM board. But the thing's indestructible. Every one I've ever seen is still working. They don't.
Even with the possible heat problems.
Yeah, they run hot, and you
the
smell
case
funny.
melts.
Yeah,
The case
they keep
smell? Are you being
working.
serious?
Well, they do run hot, and I think you can see a little difference in color over the.
Retrobyte was invented for this, then, is what you're telling me.
Exactly.
No, I just find it fascinating that actually you guys all had Tandy upgrades, because I didn't know anybody up here that had Tandy upgrade. Nobody would pay you that much extra.
Right. I think it's interesting. The board was actually made to require these locator pins to work properly, and a lot of the third-party member upgrade said plug it in and then pull it up just a little bit.
Now, one thing I wanted to ask you guys on this is, I'm trying to remember, but did the Tandy upgrades originally use 150 nanosecond chips, which did have some problems with stuff like horizontal scrolling? It wasn't quite fast enough because a lot of the third-party ones were
No,
120.
that was well, no, I remember some of the third-party ones had 150s.
Okay, maybe I'm getting that mixed up. So they sold 120s right from Tandy, I'm guessing.
I never took mine off. I'd have to go look.
Mark or
I don't remember.
Richard, do you guys remember?
Yeah, I don't remember.
Okay. Anyway, I've never actually seen one before. This is my first time ever seeing this. I've heard about them, of course, but
Oh, I've seen them. I was like everybody else. They were just way too expensive to buy. I even tried to make my own and never successfully got it to work.
Oh, geez.
yeah, Nick Morendi's actually made one. I think it's using Sims, though, kind of like Mark's original 512K 30-pin Sim ones. Yeah, I just found that fascinating. Speaking of Australia, this was actually just posted this morning, I believe. But Tony Licari, who's actually kind of returned to the CoCo community after a while, posted some photos from Tandy catalog showing CoCos and a couple of their TRS-80s here. But these are Australian catalogs. You get to see in Australian dollars what things cost, at the CoCo's launch. So here's the CM8, $700, brand new. And I remember in Canada this was $500. How much was it in the States when they launched it? Anybody here remember?
Looking, and you could buy it pre-yellowed.
That's probably just the paper.
Yeah, I think we were around the 300 range, weren't we?
Yeah, $2.99 wasn't it for states? Because I know the
Yeah,
Aussie
something
dollar
like
and the Canadian dollar were way lower in the states during this time period. Like one of the worst.
I think it was
Yeah.
like $3.99, something like that.
I never
Here's the
bought
CoCo 3, 128K, 449. I think in Canada it was 329. States was what, 219, I think, on launch?
259 at launch, I believe, and then it went to 219.
Then at the end, you could get a CoCo and a CM8 for $300. That was.
Yeah.
I got one of those.
Now, one thing I did want to ask you guys, because this I don't remember. So here you see the CoCo 3 and it mentions like screen resolutions. It even mentions the 160 by 192, which I don't remember the Canadian catalog having the 160 being mentioned because it's not accessible from basic. But going back here it says it displays 80 by 25 text and 640 by 200, not 192. I never saw that on the Canadian catalogs. Did you guys have that same wording where it actually mentions you can do 200 versus 192 lines?
Right. It's technically correct, but who put that in the ad?
Yeah, and this is the catalog. This is the Tandy catalog.
Because that's not official. I mean, you don't even have 40-track disk drives. Why can they put
Officially,
200
you
line
don't.
graphics?
Yeah. But it mentions 80 by 25 text, not 24, and 640 by 200,
And
not
200 graphics.
192.
Some renegade got in there.
I mean, it's factually advertised, and they should have advertised it that way because there's always that talk about the fact that Tandy was trying to undersell the CoCo 3 because it was too competitive with the early Tandy 1000s.
Right.
And here's where it lists the CM8. And here it says 80 by 24 and 640 by 192 on when it's part of the CoCo 3 ad, yet the ad for the actual monitor itself bumps up the specs. And as far as I know, that CM8 was never sold for any other machine that Tandy sold, correct? Because it was analog, not digital.
You know,
Right, but they're telling you the monitor's capability, not the CoCo's capability, so it's a whole completely different thing.
Yeah, I think that's
Even though it requires the CoCo to deliver that. It's a different
Yeah, but then
thing.
why not go nuts and mention it supports 225 and by 28 then? Which is
I have
also
a-
factually accurate.
I have a CM8 box, and on the box it says CM8 high-resolution RGB analog monitor.
Doesn't mention the actual resolution though, right?
No.
Yeah. And you can go back to the new low price for CoCo 1s back in the day, 16K standard for $449 and 16K extended for $600 basically. I remember on launch, the 4K CoCo 1 here was $549 Canadian in 1980. And here's the 16K extended color computer 2 as it was getting cleared out. So the price dropped from $300 down to $100.
Zippers.
And this catalog here, besides saying Tandy Electronics instead of I think Radio Shack, I think it said. I can't remember the computer catalogs anymore. The actual picture here I do recognize from the ones we had in Canada. I'm assuming the States would probably use the same cover for all these, the RSC, dash 8s, 9, 10, or whatever, depending on the year. And the computer catalogs, remember, these were published twice a year, weren't they? Most of the time. Except maybe at the very beginning. I think they did one in the spring and one in the fall or something.
Yeah, I believe so.
There's a Model 4 16K RAM for $1,800. No disk drives.
Not only no disk drives, there is no frame for the disk drive. There's no power supply for the disk drive. There is nothing for anything of a disk drive anywhere in there.
And then we're back to the beginning. But anyway, I thought that was kind of interesting. Especially this part here. This I've never seen before. That's unique to the Australian one as far as I know. And also just comparing.
Yeah.
Good.
80 by 25 that fits into the extra eight lines that you get with the 200 rather than the 192.
Right. The monitor can display this. Who cares
Yeah.
if the CoCo can or not? This is true for the monitor.
Yeah. Well, the CoCo couldn't technically because the CoCo has a bug in the game. It displays 199 actually in this mode. It's supposed to be 200, but
these are ad guys.
Exactly.
Next up, we have from Testudo Tech. Put up this little video here. as part 4 of their series, The Worst PC Computers Built from 1977 to 2008. And this particular one covers the MC10 for a bit.
We were all stupid.
The 1980s were the era of the
And I like, he basically mentions the fact that it only got sold basically for a year before it got discontinued, which is fairly accurate. Now, he does mention, he did some research. He does mention that the Metro Alice, which was also based on this, actually became a whole line because they kept the Alice line going. So he mentions it was successful in France because actually that kept going. I think we've discussed this before, but basically I think the biggest mistakes were not using a 6809 and switching to 6803 because then it made it completely incompatible with the CoCo as far as machine language programs, etc. Even though the VDG hardware and stuff was fairly similar, there was no SAM chip, so you couldn't have done page flipping, but some stuff could have been done in common without recoding. So there's just a couple designs, and the main thing is that I think it came out a bit too late because the Sinclair and VIC-20 were already dropping in prices like rocks.
How come they don't use the actual name of it, which is the micro color computer? It's not even listed anywhere in their printing. It's actually
Didn't Tandy call it MC10 actually in their brochures and
yeah, it was the
catalogs?
MC10 all over the place.
Look right on the front of the computer. It says
it says micro color computer, just like it said,
computer.
TRS-80
Oh.
color computer, not CoCo 1 or something.
Right,
Yeah.
the color computer.
Yeah.
But the problem was this was a great idea when they thought of it.
Yeah, by the time it actually got out, it was too late in that whole super small, super cheap, the ZX81 style stuff, it already crashed.
I bought my ZX81 because it was as cheap as a calculator almost, and it let me play computer. But the MC10, by the time it was available, there were much better.
If they had released this back in 1981, it would have sold like hotcakes.
Yeah, maybe even 82 because it came out earlier than the CoCo 2, like in late spring, early summer.
Yeah. So, hey Ron, Exile in Paradise says the badge says Model MC10, and if I look at a Wikipedia image, the badge that you see up there in the upper right hand corner, Radio Shack color bars, Model MC10 TRS-80.
Right, and then right on the cover is
it's micro color computer.
Displayed.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. So it says both.
Color
basically.
It's the MC10 micro color computer.
Correct.
I agree though. If this had come out a year or two earlier, I think it would have sold for like hotcakes and lasted longer.
Right.
Yeah, 83 was a lot of people that we had talked about this. I mean, amongst Radio Shack employees, we thought this was probably the apogee of Radio Shack's. This is the year they released so much stuff, and they were innovators at the time. But after 83, they became the followers with the going with the clone market, the Tandy 1200, and besides the 1000. But after that, they did not really release anything that was groundbreaking new.
Well, when we were CoCo Talk, we talked it down.
Tandy did what they could. They took over the PC Junior.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
That's true.
I mean, that's about as much as you're going to do as a corporation the size of Tandy.
Yeah.
Well, they released, in 83, they released the Model 100. The 4 came out, the Model 12, the 16B.
CoCo 2, the 64K color computer.
Yeah.
OS 9.
They went with the white color case. They got rid of the Battleship Gray. They had the PT210, which was a portable terminal, the 4P. They had all, and then the 2000 was on the horizon too.
Yeah, once the PC standards got established, though, I mean, the only way that you're going to innovate and be able to make any money is if you have something pretty much groundbreaking on the peripheral market or like the expansion market rather than the computer itself.
Right.
And, it's unfortunate, but what Tandy ran into is where the market wound up going.
Right.
Yeah.
They did as much as they could with the graphics.
Well, they
did try to do those multimedia things like that sensation and stuff too. But
they got burned with the Tandy 2000, and I mean that was a big misstep because that became. We joked about it. We called that the incompatible compatible.
Right.
Yes. Although it was
hardware wise, it was awesome.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was, but it was $5,000 for for all the bells and whistles on it. It was just way too expensive. But it was an 86 180, or
8186,
8186, yeah. But if you needed a Diversicad machine, there wasn't nothing going to beat it.
Yep.
Yeah, if they'd gotten the BIOS ROMs at least compatible enough that it could run MS-DOS and IBM PC stuff rather than just one part of it, I think it would have done a lot better even with the price, because it would have been a more specialized market for the high-end user. But the fact that it was it broke the compatibility so badly.
Well, I mean, the strength of Radio Shack has always been what they can provide that no one else has, and when you start getting to trying to provide what everyone else has.
Well, not only that, the sales were so bad that they actually turned them into what they call the store operating systems, or the SOS.
You're gonna buy one of these. Everyone,
an appropriate acronym if there ever was one.
They did with the 2000 what they originally feared they'd have to do with the
Model 1.
Yeah.
We're not going to sell any of these things, so we'll just keep in the store to do inventory.
Yep.
Yeah, well, the trouble is they just didn't have any software hardly for the 2000.
I mean, like I said,
because they made it incompatible. That was
right. And
they had some good packages, but they were very limited.
Right. It's like I was saying, because that's what I remember about Mom bringing home the 2000 VersaCAD. I mean, it screamed at VersaCAD. The Model 2000 is where I first learned how to do CAD. And it's just it had very specialized applications that were available to it, but you couldn't run commodity software on it.
The 2000 monitor was pretty.
It was.
Yeah, it was what, 640 by 400 by 8 color or something, which at that time was hyper advanced.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. It was absolutely ridiculous.
And the CGA was like 320 by 200 by 4 color, so it wasn't even
Chris
comparable.
Jerry says, "I bought our old store operating system. It was a great machine." Wish I
I remember too. Didn't Steve Bjork say that he actually one of his games got ported to Tandy 2000, and it looked awesome because it was one of the few that actually did high res and stuff. But because nobody bought it, he didn't sell very many, so he never did anything for it again.
Oh, because they just passed it around among the Radio Shack owners.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember what game that was. It was one of the ones that's actually on the CoCo too. Was it 1-on-1 or Rampage or something? I can't remember now.
Even our repair center had the 2000 as its, we did our business. It was our point of sale system.
But was the game installed?
Originally, we had a Model 2 where we did inventory with National Parts, right. And then they switched over to the Tandy, and we also had a Model 3 before we went to the 2000.
In the training school, Tandy would train their technicians.
Yep.
And for the 2000, they had a production run of them done. Everything was socketed.
Mm-hmm.
And the instructors would fill the boards up with bad chips, and we had to go chase them down.
Nice.
We didn't have to do that. The 2000 wasn't out when I went. I went in February, March of '83.
And they used a lot of PALs.
Yep.
Well, it's the Kobayashi Maru. It must be a bad chip. It can't be a bad board because they just plug bad chips in, so half the job is done.
Yeah,
I could win that test.
Yeah, when I was in the school, they just released the Model 100. They announced, the guy brought out a briefcase and he opened it up and he pulled out a Tandy or a Model 100. I mean, that was kind of cool, but I knew about the Model 4 because the factory I had worked at, I knew that they were working on it, and they actually brought me into the office and told me to shut up about it because I had schematics and I knew all the specs to it and everything and all the problems that they were having.
Yeah, because they had problems with the 120K RAM.
Yeah, it was just the compatibility between the 3 and the 4 because they had to do separate clock signals.
Yeah, and they ended up having a Model 3 mode and a Model 4 mode,
yeah.
and you had to switch between them to run properly. Anyway, a little bit of history there. He's being somewhat fair. He's not slamming it completely. He basically said it was too late, which is true. I have to agree with that. As we just discussed, if this came out 1 or 2 years earlier, it probably would have sold like hotcakes. Because if you compare it with his ZX81, its main competitor, much better keyboard. It actually has keys that press down, color, sound. I mean, there's just so many things that were not on a ZX81, but by this time ZX81s were selling for $49. Not even as a kit anymore, just brand new. And you can get a VIC-20 for the same price as this, if not less.
And there was so much stuff piled up in the market in terms of programming and how to program and yada yada. And here this comes along and it's got
Well, the only demo they had with the MC10 was that 6 games in one, and the only one that was worth anything was that horse racing game, and but nobody bought it. It was so bad that I believe they had a sale to where if you bought a Xenix system that they would give the MC10 for free, and nobody wanted it.
Well, and it didn't lead anywhere. If you bought a ZX81, you knew Z80. If you bought a CoCo, you knew 6809. If you bought a MC10,
it was nothing.
You have an MC10.
Yeah, but it was so. And I remember the memo that the stores had to take their existing MC10 inventory and ship it out to the store in Harlingen. They had to do an ICST and ship all their stock and peripherals. So I don't know what happened after that. I guess they all went to Mexico.
Poor little intern sitting there with a stack of MC10s.
Well, I knew the computer store in Harlingen. It was on Sunset Strip. It was on Highway 77, but I remember that memo. I wish I could find it. But
I'm surprised they used all those basic games as a demo, because I know up here anyway, the store demos I saw, they always played Lost Valley Pinball, because that actually looked, closer to a CoCo style game. It was higher res and required the 16K RAM pack expansion, of course, which is probably not a great selling point. You want to play an actual, proper game on it, you're gonna have to spend another $80.
Buy more stuff. Yeah.
Then you're really getting, uncompetitive with the VIC-20 or ZX81 or whatever. I'm not trying to slam the MC10 here. Like, I think most of us agree that it was just too late for what it had and for the price it was being sold at. Okay, last of the regular news here. The latest issue of TRS 8-Bit. This is a newsletter. It's actually so big now I'd almost call it a magazine at this point. It's produced by www.trs-80.org.uk. Dusty's the main editor for it, and he's active on the Tandy Discord if you're a member of that. This covers all the TRS-80s, all the Tandy machines, including the CoCo, and you'll see some articles here. In this case here, it's 92 pages total. And Ian Maverick, of course, we know, he's active at Tandy Assembly, but he's also manufactures stuff for the CoCo in Australia where he lives. So if you want to get like an actual R232 pack clone, he actually manufactures and sells those. But he's actually got some history here going on. What was the second color computer one? So there's CoCo related stuff in here too. Plus there's like listings and all kinds of stuff here, but it's almost a magazine. When you're getting up to close to 100 pages an issue, you can just about call it a magazine. And now since it's all PDF, it's full color now, which, the old ones weren't. They have programming contest stuff you can enter, and they actually do have prizes. They'll send you out stuff. Ian Maverick has actually donated CoCo hardware that he'll, if you do the programming and you happen to win that particular category, you can actually get some free hardware out of them. Anyway, I haven't had a chance to read through the whole thing. I've just kind of skimmed little bits of it, but anyway, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, is this a subscription that you have to purchase, or is this a free or?
No, it's free. It's you go to that website, cool. You go to the download section, and every time they have a new issue, they'll just have it up as a downloadable PDF.
Oh, that's awesome.
And because it's more oriented definitely towards the black and white Z80 models, I don't think a lot of CoCo people know about it, even though there is CoCo content in it, CoCo programming contests, CoCo prizes that are, CoCo hardware. So hopefully this will help spread the word a bit here, but it's definitely worth reading. If you're into all of the old TRS-80 stuff, including the CoCo, it's an awesome magazine/newsletter. Like here, they're mentioning the fact that if you attended CoCo Fest and you still have your badge, if you go to Tandy Assembly, you get free admission. You don't have to pay the admission fees. There's a Tandy 6000. There's Neil from that. This is their trivia contest thing from last year. There's Ian himself. Hey, a lot of stuff there. Program listings to type in, reviews and stuff, all kind of thing. Anyway, that's it for the regular news. Now, I don't have a lot of Game On news, so I think I'll just breeze through those. And then I've got the upcoming shows here. So did we want to break first before I kind of close out the rest of the news?
Sure.
I need some water anyway.
I vote.
Okay. Here we go.
Hey, Amy. Hey, Taylor. We're watching the CoCoNation show. Yeah, we are. Woo! You should too.
Future Vision Research is your source for Fujinet platforms, including the Fujinet for Tandy color computers. The Fujinet cartridge supports CoCo models 1, 2, and 3 and comes with HDB DOS DriveWire 3. Load files from SD card or connect to Wi-Fi and load files over the internet or your local Windows, Mac, and Linux computers. Applications from the Fujinet team allow you to follow news from all over the world, catch up on Mastodon messages, and even track the International Space Station. For more information and to purchase your own Fujinet devices, visit fvresearch.com.
In a world where RGB produces black and white video, one cable can make a difference. Switcheroo. CoCo3SCARTcable.com.
Okay. So a little bit of game news, then we'll go into game on, and then we'll close the show out with the upcoming events. Over here. Okay, so Retro Rick, who's very active on the CoCo Discord, has been uploaded a beta of an updated T&D game. So T&D was a tape magazine, the longest running one the CoCo had. It actually ran from 82 to 92, I think, or something like that. Almost as long as Rainbow. And the original game was called Squeeze, so he's renamed it called Beware the KBB. And he's released his first beta. You can get it on both Facebook and on the CoCo Discord in the games channel. And it's kind of a basic shoot 'em up, but he's been kind of updating it with additional gameplay, etc. I thought I'll play a little bit of the video here so you can kind of see what the game looks like. And somebody's clicking away in the background, so hopefully.
That's me cleaning up a mess I made.
Oh, okay. I haven't had a chance to look at the disk image for this. I don't know if anybody on the panel has, but some of the sound effects and stuff sound a bit beyond the play command. So I'm guessing there's got to be a little bit of ML routines here, even if the main game graphics and logic is programmed in BASIC. I'll have to check. I mean, I've seen some people do some pretty amazing things with the play command with Tempo 255. Anyway, Rick's looking for some feedback. This is his first beta, I guess, of the revised version. And looks like a not bad little shoot 'em up for a basic game. I'm not going to play the whole 6 minutes here. The video itself, actually, I want to check it out, is also on the CoCo Discord. So, Jim Gary did a couple of things this past week. So the first one is he modified the blackjack game from the original Getting Started with Microcolor Basic from the Tandy manual. So basically, that was one of the games you could type in from the MC10's own basic manual. He did some modifications to it. One thing that surprised me here, there's a blackjack game that's included in the original color basic manual, the original wide format one, which actually used some semi-graphic color stuff to make the cards look more like cards. But for some reason, this one's all text, which just seems a little odd to me because the MC10 has the same semi-graphics we have, and the cards could have looked a bit more impressive. But I guess it was a design choice they made. Loud. Yeah, it's a nice little game. I think it runs on a 4K. I don't think it requires a memory expansion pack at all. I'm not exactly sure what Jim has updated. He just said he updated it. So I haven't had a chance to try to compare with the original. I do like the fact that on the cards with the Jack, Queen, and King, instead of just, kind of skipping the center part, like here you're putting in like clubs and spades with, as close as equivalents as you can, built with the built-in VDG character set, he actually kind of tries to draw something that looks a little bit like a Jack if you squint, like we were talking about earlier. I thought that was kind of neat that he actually went to the trouble of doing that. I don't know if the original one did that or not. Like maybe that's one of the modifications he made. I don't know. And the second one he did is a lunar lander. I have seen this one before in the CoCo, and this is actually a conversion from the CoCo, but it's an author unknown one. So I can't remember if this was from a tape magazine. It's not on my site yet, but I have seen it, so I have ran it before. But basically, it's converted to MCX Basic, so the extended basic that the Darren Atkinson did for the MC10, which is included on both the MCX 128 upgrade and on the SD upgrade. So basically, this is running at 128 by 96 two-color, I think. But it's basically a graphical lunar lander game. But for the MC10, it actually looks pretty good. And basically, you try to land on these flat surfaces without going too fast or at a weird angle, etc. And if you get into these cave caverns, you get way more points. And you have to monitor your fuel, which you can see every time you're firing to slow your ship down or whatever. The fuel goes down faster. So basically, it's Lunar Lander. I'm sure all of us have played Lunar Lander at some point. But not bad for the MC10. And we were just talking about the MC10 was kind of restricted because it only had like the 16K RAM upgrade and no high-res graphics unless you learn machine language. And nowadays, with all the modern stuff Darren's done, now you can do a lot of that stuff. So it's a much more competitive machine than it ever was back in the day. Next up is that Expert Tech. I believe he's in Brazil as well. He decided to cover a game, Froggy. This is the Frogger clone by Spectral Associates, not to be confused with The Frog by Tom Mix or Frog Trek by Ulrich Publications and a bazillion other clones that are around. But he's actually quite good at it. I think he made it to the 5th or 6th board, on his first playthrough. So he's pretty decent at the game. And you get to see some of the stuff that happens later, like the snake coming across the middle and alligators instead of logs and et cetera, et cetera. And this one, the later versions of this actually supported the sound speech pack for some speech stuff too. I wish they'd used it more for sound effects. It does have some multi-voice music in between rounds and stuff, but not during the actual gameplay. And out of all the CoCo versions, I think it animates the frog jumping probably the best. It actually has the legs extend like the arcade game does, as you can kind of see there.
Let's see if we can do
Whereas
it.
most of the others just had a static shape that they kind of just
I have to go.
moved around.
I have to go.
And it has auto translation built in now, auto dubbed as they call it on YouTube. So you no longer have to turn closed caption and kind of read along. You can actually hear an AI voice basically translating what he's saying on the original video in his original language. Aquanaut 471 on YouTube did a bunch more of his redone, remastered, I guess, versions of a bunch of Dragon games, including the original artwork or the original cassette inlays, along with some gameplay video. I won't play any of them here because he's done this, over and over a few times over the last few years. These are a bit longer, a bit more detailed on the gameplay side of things, and he's got a few that he didn't have originally. But if you want a kind of a nice history of some of the artwork for various things, whether it's from Dragon Data or Microdeal or whoever, and some gameplay of each game too, you can kind of go through them. And then ZX Frankie, he's been doing a lot of Dragon, and he's playing on a real Dragon. He's filming this on a real TV. And he does submissions to some of the high score game sites that accept Dragon and CoCo scores. And he decided to play Planet Invasion by Spectral Associates, which is a early 83, I think, maybe even late 82 Defender clone. And not a bad one, not the worst, not the best. I personally don't think it plays or looks as well as the current Game On Challenge, which we'll be getting to shortly. That's a cue for you, Sloopy. But it is in the Dragon color set here. So in this case here, because the shapes are so small, I don't know if it was really worth it putting it into a white background like this, it probably would look fine just doing a straight regular P-Mode 4 with vertical stripes. Because most of the shapes are so small, you're not going to see too much striping anyway, and the player ship is solid. So, but not a bad version. And another gaming channel that's been doing a lot of Dragon and CoCo games lately that they're submitting to the high score sites is Attempts, a gaming channel by LRU. And he decided to play Mud Pies. Now, if you notice the length of this video, it's almost 45 minutes, and that's one game. He actually did quite well. I don't remember how we did for score-wise on the Game On Challenge because we have covered this game before. But he gets up to level 20 or something like that. So he's actually pretty good at the game. That's a competitive score that he gets up to. It's 206,700. Level 14, I guess he got to. So I won't bother playing the video here. But before I go and mention all the upcoming shows that are coming up, and there is an update on those that we've not mentioned before, but I thought I would pass it over to Sloopy to talk about the Game On Challenge, which unfortunately I did not make this week. My apologies. After some nasty weather we've had the last while, if I had some time to go do yard stuff, and I kind of had to get caught up, so I wasn't able to even watch it this time. But Sloopy, if you are ready, take it away.
Not that one. Hang on.
The CoCoNation.
But I have no idea what's going on, so.
Okay.
I don't either at this point.
Well, you got the two of them, twice as much.
I keep hitting the wrong buttons. Damn it.
You're more than welcome to do it, Ken.
You want
to do it, Ken? Well.
All right, there we
welcome
go.
to the Game On Challenge, and Sloopy's going to do something.
Did you want to update people on what happened to you, Ken? Why you're not quite prepared as you normally are?
Well, let's do the results first.
Yeah,
okay.
Somebody needs to do those.
Let's see here. It's Game On 2, 6, 7. Which we played.
Doesn't happen.
See what happens when you're not doing it, Ken?
Oh, wrong window.
Wrong disc, huh?
Wrong disc?
Yes. What the heck?
Okay.
Nothing
well,
but professionals here, folks.
While Sloopy's trying to fix that, the reason I haven't been around is because. What?
I know what I did wrong.
Okay. Anyways, the reason I was not here, I've traveled to my cabin last week, and during that, my computer unfortunately crashed on me. Something broke inside of it when I got here. So I've spent the last few days trying to fix it, and I finally this morning got it going. So
physical damage or
well, the PCIe slot stopped working. So I think it got jostled somehow and something disconnected or.
Okay, how do I use the second disc?
Drive one.
Oh, drive, not disc. Oh. And I'm only a game player. I'm not this super technical person. All right. Oh, that's it. We played Maisie 2 by Inufuto. And we had 16 spelunkers. And in 17th place, we had Canadian Retro Things with no score.
I do believe I posted a score, didn't I? Or did I fail to do that?
You failed to do that I saw.
I failed to do that. Would you like me to post my score right now? Because I actually have one on my phone.
Sure, but it ain't gonna go into the list unless
it's too late.
Yeah, because let's see here. Nope. Control C doesn't break. So
okay. Oh well. I did have a score though.
Missed it by 3 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I close it much later than you. I mean, I don't close it until Saturday at like after 1 p.m. So what's your excuse?
Yeah.
He's
My
fixing his
excuse was-
computer so he could even log into this.
Yesterday, I thought it was working, so I thought I'll post it when I get my computer working, and I never did get it working last night, and so I didn't post it. So
Yeah, give Kim a break. He's working overtime over at the Polynesian Village in Walt Disney World.
yeah.
Okay. And in 16th place, we had Exile in Paradise with 1850. See, Alan, you're not in last. 15th, we had Marco with 2370. 14th, we had Mike Zwiefel with 4270. 13th, Jim Rye with 5220. 12th, Ed Rhodes with 5550. 11th, Mark B with 6480.
Damn.
10th, Michael Hill with 7940. 9th, L Curtis Boyle with 10,310. 8th, Doug V4850 with 10,410. 7th, Shenley with 10,730. Tasman in 6th place. Oof. With 13,280.
Did he have a sick note or something? Or
Right?
Maybe someone should check on him and take him.
Wellness check.
5th, Jason Warrens with 14,300. 4th, me with 15,260.
Top 5.
Yeah, I'm impressed. Coconut Bob with 18,690. Second was Retro Rick with 29,710. And the number one spelunker is, any guesses? Any guesses?
No.
Dr. Ted with 30,430.
Was close though. That's not
shocked.
too far off Retro Rick's score. So
yeah.
Right, he damn near got eclipsed on this one.
By the way, Exile in Paradise mentioned in the chat here. Kenny says, "Damn it, Ken, you took my spot with your failure to post the score."
And
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I knew that Ken had actually played it because he said he played it, but he didn't actually submit a score. So
I was there when you played it. That was 2 weeks ago. I was on the show playing it.
I didn't want him to feel left out.
Oh, thanks.
Even though he had all these problems, I wanted him to have something positive to look forward to.
All right, and the CoCoNation salutes Dr. Ted.
Salute!
So, how was what was everyone's opinion of Maisie 2?
More difficult than Maisie 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was it was a nice change to add that extra level of having to go up and down stairs and stuff. I like that.
I got past level 1.
I do remember somebody complained that actually there was too much of the mapping to memorize because of the up and down. They figured it was a bit too difficult because the original Maisie just scrolled basically.
Yeah, I didn't really have much issue. I mean, I only got to like level 6, I think it was. But literally when you were going through the mazes and you had multiple stairs, it just seemed that you go into the first one that was closest to you, you'd go somewhere else, then come back. It was sort of like if there were multiple stairs in a single screen, then they were just like side quests for extra swords or something.
Yeah, I didn't mind that at all. I like Ken. I like the fact that it added that.
Yeah,
you know, because you get different size maps, different size floors and stuff depending on where you're going. I thought it actually added a good element to the game that none of the other feeders have really had.
Yeah, and
it added
was
more of an element of adventure.
Yeah, and it didn't have. It
explore.
wasn't like it was an added feature, but it didn't add significant complexity like it could have. Where you'd have
the later levels that you kind of have to memorize like where you have to go because you don't start with no swords and you're already seeing creatures and you have to kind of go get some and come back. But yeah, I quite liked it actually myself.
Yeah, I noticed that when that happened, it was because I skipped a stair that was closer than a further one. Because they were always like one was really close, then one was a little bit further, and one was even further. And when you would skip like the closest one, it would it would usually have like a sword in it or something in it that you would need to continue on. Especially
the only issue I had playing it with, and it just took a bit to get used to be honest, it wasn't terrible or anything, was hitting the door from the right side. Like you hit one door and then you want to come back on the other side, so you have to kind of like hit the arrow key in the direction you want to go as soon as you go through it. Otherwise, you might just run straight into a monster instead of going down to get a sword that was in the other direction. But that just took a bit to get used to.
Yeah, because the only real issue I had, which is what limited my score, was where you're in round turns and such, and you had to come up to a turn where you were like had to come up and then turn immediately and shoot, because the monster that would go through the maze would be right there, and he would like go on top of me and kill me, even though I'd kill him and get the points for it.
Yeah,
he'll kill
happened to me.
That was the only issue I had, because there was one place where that happened and there was nothing I could do, and that's pretty much what limited my score, because I couldn't get past that one specific spot. So I maximized my points up until that point to get the score that I did. Because the other thing that I noticed is when you have multiple swords, if you don't throw more than one, if you only throw one, you only get 100 points per monster. But when you throw multiple, so that they go down. So if you have like 4 swords and you throw the first and then the second and the third, the scores double. They go 100, 200, 400, 800 when you're killing them.
Yeah. Also, as people discovered, there's a nasty bug in the CoCo versions that most of the other versions do not have, related to the timer.
Oh, that's a bug?
Well, apparently from people playing other platform versions of it, that timer does not stop as it did on the CoCo version. So that seems to be a CoCo specific bug.
Yeah,
and of course, I have no idea how to get a hold of them to mention it. So
feature,
because it stopped as soon as you got the first sword.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think that's more of a feature than a bug. Gives you time to explore.
That gives you it's to forward the idea that the CoCo is the better computer. It's the preferred,
or the CoCo game players are worse than others. That's one of the two. Yeah.
Either that or Inufuto has a very low bar for the CoCo players.
Hey, let's look at this in the positive light. So,
any strategies or anything there? I guess getting used to, like, when you're crossing a door in the later levels where you want to come out facing a certain direction, you have to make sure you hit that particular arrow key as quick as possible, so you don't just run into monsters. Something you'll get lineups of monsters like 3 in a row, so you have to go hunt down your swords before you decide to attack them, because you might be able to shoot 1 or 2, but then you'll kind of get overran.
Yeah, because there's one spot where you have 4 monsters, and you have to have 4 swords to be able to take care of them, because otherwise they cover up the stairs and there's nothing you can do because they're coming all in a line.
Yeah.
Oh, you could die.
Yes, and I did that. But that doesn't help my score.
Yeah, probably not the greatest strategy.
No. Yeah, Ken, I limited my score because you weren't there to show me how it's done.
Actually, my score was almost exactly the same as yours.
So, any other opinions?
I think from the people that got the highest scores, I think they mentioned, like most Inufuto games, that there's 8 levels and then it wraps, and it doesn't get more difficult. So once you kind of like memorize the layouts and kind of get used to the keyboard controls for some of the trickier stuff there, you can pretty well go on forever, I think. Especially in the CoCo version, since the timer doesn't mean nothing.
Yeah, I'm not a game playing AI, so I'm not playing at infinity.
Now, Scott Cooper, on the other hand, he just mentioned the chat here. He said he played the game for about 30 minutes and I couldn't play anymore. This choppy frame rate caused a lot of irritation. I usually like the Inufuto games. I didn't notice it being any more choppy than any of the other ones.
No, I didn't notice that at all either.
I didn't either. I mean, it seemed pretty smooth to me. I mean, other than the character.
I mean, it's tile based, so your character moves by a tile width or height, but that's all the Infinite games because the CoCo engines for those Infinite games is tile based. It's not trying to simulate software sprites.
Yeah, it seemed like it was like it wasn't actually true character spacing. I think it was half character. Because
I guess it depends what you consider a character, because it's a byte is every 2 pixels, so they could do it on any 2 pixel boundary or higher, basically.
Yeah, well, when I talk about the character, I'm talking about a standard 32,
like a text character or something.
Yeah, text character,
probably an 8x8 or something.
Yeah. So
I just find it odd he had choppy frame rate, because I do not recall that at all.
I think he needs to update his CoCo.
Yeah, it has a firmware update.
Yep, firmware update for Scott's CoCo.
Yeah, what version of the firmware are you running, Scott? So
does he have one of the new Gimme Z's? Maybe there's a glitch there. Who knows?
It's a possibility, but all right. I will admit that I was told very late that I was going to be doing this. So, Ken, were there any reviews or anything for this game in any magazines?
No, there were not. I looked. I actually looked through every hot CoCo, every rainbow that I had, and I could not find a single review of Maisie 2.
I did see a couple reviews on YouTube, but none of them were for the CoCo. So,
yeah, and my game page entry, which I snuck in, does not have a review. It just has a brief summary. So,
I find it weird how none of these new games are ever reviewed in any of the magazines.
Yeah, what?
Right.
They just
I haven't gone through that Tier City newsletter / magazine I just talked about here. Ooh. Maybe they're starting to review those games. We'll have to check.
Maybe Frank's magazine had one.
I mean, there's some Tier City Model 100 and Model 1.3 versions of some of these games too. So maybe they could do a comparative review. I'll have to talk to Dusty about that.
Yeah. All right. So that's Maisie 2. The other game that we had was I don't want to say it wrong again because I messed up bad enough last week's show. So the other game was let's see here. What does my script say?
He never remembers the name of the games we're playing, I've noticed.
Yeah.
Even while we're playing them.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, ever since last July, I mean, it's been a problem because
was it Flying Tigers?
That's it, Flying Tigers. I just saw it as you said it. Thanks for your help.
By Don Ryder?
Yes.
From Sugar Software?
I don't know. Yeah, Sugar Software.
Yeah, Sugar Software, 1983.
Yeah.
Late 1983, I will add.
Yeah.
And we're playing it on which difficulty?
Difficult.
Three.
Difficult.
3.
That is 3.
Yeah, I know, but
difficult.
There's some of us that can't read. We can only recognize numbers.
I'm being difficult, just like the game.
He's being a 3 out of 10. No, I'm just kidding.
So, any comments or advanced opinions on the game?
It's one of for that time period. It's one of the better Defender clones, I think. One of the top 2 or 3. The only one I think that's really competitive at that time period would have been Guardian, which was released roughly the same time. But it's better than Starfire. It's better than Planet Invasion, which I just covered on the Game On News, and a few of the others that were around at the time. Offender.
That's enough.
It kept all the stuff that made Defender good, like having the baiters and mutants, and the planet can blow up, and everything else, which some of the other conversions did not. And it was a color palette that would have worked in the Dragon, though I don't think it was ever sold as a Dragon game. It would have been a good one to have that early on.
No, it's too easy for them.
Well, that's why you have difficulty 5, right?
Ah, yeah, that's
And
true.
did I see somebody mention that it also is one of the games that runs too fast on VCC?
I did see a comment that I haven't tried it
does.
myself yet, so
Yeah, it does.
so
Runs way too
that's
fast.
2 or 3 programs now that are causing that problem. So we got to figure
Yeah.
what's going on.
It was from Jim Rye. He said, "It looks like Flying Tigers is another game that runs too fast on the latest version of VCC."
Yeah, and I confirmed that.
So, Xroar, hit the play now button.
Yeah, though I do know EJ and the other guy, Craig is his name, that is helping with VCC these days. We got to figure out what's going on there because I had not encountered anything playing with the wrong speed drastically in quite a long time until recently. So I don't know if anybody's gone through older versions of VCC to see if the problem fixes. Like, is it a recent change that has caused this, or is it just we've never played these particular games before that are doing something slightly different that the emulator isn't quite catching?
No idea.
Anyway, I was not able to make even watching. Still haven't been able to watch it yet. The live Game On Challenge show on Thursday. How many people showed up? Do you have some footage?
Yeah, 7.
I'm guessing Ken was on the road at that time, so he's probably not.
No, I was here, but my computer didn't work, so.
Oh, Jim Rice says VCC should be fixed in the next release. Apparently, they figured out what the bug is.
That's
yay.
Good. Give me 1 second, and I will have that footage.
Tigers that the only way I could play it is on flying lessons.
You can hear something.
Let's see here. Where is that screen? I just
What happened? It's too fast.
there it is.
Oh, that sounds like me.
Sounds like you complaining.
Uh-huh.
His VCC is like defaulting to 1.8.
Yeah. There.
I'd skip ahead a bit. We don't need the preamble stuff.
I think we had up to 7 or 5. No, we had more than that. We just had to wait a little bit later. Yeah, there's 6. Yeah, there's 6. Yeah, I think we might have had 7, but we just didn't. We had 6 at one time because we had people coming and going. And don't worry about that little discussion there. We were talking about what the game for next week was going to be, and Kevin Hollister was voting for Neutroid, and then when we told him no Neutroid, he said Predator, but that's not going to be chosen.
That's called digging at the bottom of the barrel in both cases. No, I'm just kidding.
I knew it wouldn't be.
But yeah. Oh my Lord. Sorry. It was like sunny about like 5 minutes ago and hot, and now it's downpouring outside and it's really loud.
Not hearing it here. Your noise cancellation is working well.
Unfortunately, there's some noise still getting through. Oh, wait, that's my voice. I'm sorry.
Now, I do remember seeing some comments that Flying Tiger, some people didn't like, I think, the steering and stuff. But from what I've seen and what I remember playing it, because it's been a while, it's pretty close to the arcade. Like, you got kind of a physics motion where you kind of like, when you flip directions, you don't just instantly change on a dime.
Right.
You kind of like have to, fire the thrusters and kind of slow down, stop, then start flying. So to me, it looks like it's proper.
Yeah, when I tried it, it seemed very much like the arcade. I only had a limited play on it, but the controls seemed to be pretty decent. So, but yeah, we had, as I said, 6 people. I think 7 total between people who came and go, but 6 at once. Was a pretty good show. Was a bit quiet because everyone was focusing on their games, though. Because everyone wanted to get their good scores in for Maisie 2.
I was just watching.
And why aren't you playing?
I was
Some
watching
people-
TV also at the same time.
Some people didn't even submit their scores.
Yeah.
I didn't get a chance to play, so I didn't submit. I will submit for the next week, though.
So
Yeah, but what about Ken?
Well, he had a broken computer and he was on the road for a couple days too.
yeah, but the image was on his
Did,
phone.
did we even meet the Canadian quorum?
What was that, Bob?
Did we even have a Canadian quorum?
I don't think so.
No, we didn't. That's why no one's seen it, because all the Canadian.
Yeah, it wasn't broadcast in Canada then.
Hey, man, we're on fire here, so.
Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna have to have
we have a legitimate sick note.
Yeah, you do, and Ken does. Now we have to look at the other Canadian. Frederick, care to comment on where you were?
Is he still on the call?
I think that's a no.
He was running on French time, so he missed it.
Yeah, we don't even understand French time up here in, Western Canada.
So yeah, but that was the Game On Challenge Live. Was hopefully next week we'll have a more lively bunch, and we will have you there also. Yes, you.
I'm hoping I should be able to make it next week. So
yes,
I did catch up some stuff.
Yes, you can. Yes, you, Curtis.
So far, my computer seems to work, so I should be there.
Good. Well, worst comes to worst, use your phone.
I can't play games on my phone.
No, but you can play games on your CoCo and have your phone sit on a tripod pointed at the phone, just like what's his name was doing.
Wingnut.
Wingnut?
Not just Wingnut was using a webcam. Oh, good Lord, who was that? I think it was the week before last that he was doing that.
You're assuming I brought a CoCo with me.
If you did not bring a CoCo with you,
you go back and get one.
Then you go back and get one, or you're off the panel.
Drive through the fires again, and then head down.
Actually, I have a legitimate question about video capture. What do you guys use or recommend for capturing stuff on the color computer?
I use a one of the cheap Amazon composite capture cards.
Okay.
That's what when I used to use real machines. Unfortunately, I still have to get things rearranged, but currently I just use emulation.
Yeah. It also depends if you have some alternative output devices like a CoCo DV or the Gimme Z, for example, where you actually have like HDMI out. You can just get an HDMI capture device. And it comes
Right,
up
or
quite nicely.
Jason SCART converter. Once you've got video onto a flat screen, just use a capture for that.
Yeah, 'cause I have used my I have a CoCo 2 with a CoCo DV, and I've used that with an HDMI input, and that works quite well. As a matter of fact, the CoCo DV screen works better going into an HDMI input device than it does on the actual monitor that I was using to connect it to.
Okay.
So, but yeah, I mean, that would be a good thing to have to get a Gimme Z for, so you can bring it in
All
your
the things, yeah.
Share it.
Yeah, well, I sent the email, so hopefully I'm on the list.
Yeah.
Well, I will say this about the Gimme Z. If you're using a capture device that doesn't go down to 480p, the Gimme Z is not quite ready for that yet. It only goes up to 480p. So, like, my ATEM Mini won't work with the Gimme Z because the Gimme Z does 480 and the ATEM doesn't understand anything less than 720.
Yeah, I have just a generic cheap HDMI capture device, and it works pretty good. And I don't have a
generic cheap capture devices are going to work good. It's the wonderful technology that doesn't want to listen to anything old.
Right. You've got to get to HDMI or
planned obsolescence
quasi
is what that is.
HDMI.
Yeah,
And
it's like
then-
the monitor is probably wants its native resolution and nothing else. So, all right.
So with Ken on the road and some of the travails that he went through here, who's in charge of choosing the game this week? Was it Sloopy or was it Ken?
Right.
Inquiring minds want to know.
What is our fate?
That would be me because the original game that I picked, I only played it for 2 seconds, and it doesn't seem to work right, and I'm not sure what. So
that's
I brainstormed with Ken and came up with an alternative game. I was thinking about just choosing both games, but I don't want to torment or torture Ken that much next week.
Let me know, Sloopy, what game didn't work, and I'll see if I can figure what's going on. Like, is it not working under certain emulators, or not working at all on anything, or what?
It's not a issue with working in the emulators. It's more of a gameplay not working.
Oh.
Let's see here.
Wow, that's a wicked game.
Yeah, I didn't want to show the loading of it.
Green slime.
Disco green.
Oh, that's a dragon game. Originally.
Anyone know what it is?
Bonka.
How about Bonka?
Yeah.
And it's basically a space panic.
Yes. Or as Ken said, Apple Panic.
That's where I originally played it.
Yeah.
Actually, I think I played Apple Panic a month or two before it showed up in arcade as Space Panic, so that would be me too.
And we're
What speed level are we playing at?
We're gonna play speed 2 and start with 3 minis. Maybe.
Takes a minute to load in.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, the other
Or
game
your
playing was
computer just died.
It's X-Roar, it doesn't die.
Just pauses for a siesta every once in a while.
Yeah, it allows everyone to see it.
Do you have to click a button or hit a key in the keyboard to continue?
Yeah, I am, and nothing.
Nice demo.
Well, it's going to be a low scoring week.
Oh, all right. Let's try this again.
Is it one that's set up for cassette only and you have to run like ROML or something to run on a disc?
No, it's actual disc.
It ran fine on the Play Me Now button.
Yeah. I actually played it once on the machine, on the emulator, so.
Now we have better graphics than last time. So.
Oh, that's it. Remove joysticks. I had joysticks emulated. That could be what it is. So 2 and 3. There we go. Come here, I got a hole for you. There we go. Whoops. All right. As you can see, I'm a professional at this.
So level 2 with 3 minis, is that correct?
That is correct.
And you'll post that. One of you will post that in the Game On Challenge.
Yeah.
Full count, folks.
Looks like it's running too fast.
So.
If it's too fast, you're too old. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
But all right, we can stop that share. So that's it, Bonka, for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, Kevin Hall was actually showing the cover art for the cassette inlay for the original.
Yes, and there's actually
version.
Instructions to read, I do believe. So,
That and Flying Tigers for another week.
Yep, that Flying Tigers, and join us next Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. And if you're somewhere in between, it's somewhere between 8 p.m. and 5 p.m. So join
Unless
us.
you're in the UK, then it's like, 2 a.m. in the morning or something.
Yeah. Actually, it's
no, there's 7 hours ahead.
It's about 1 a.m.
It's
5 hours.
Are you sure it's not 23 or something?
No, that's Australia.
Of course, the UK people should have an advantage because this is originally a Dragon game we never got on the CoCo until recently, so they should be much, much better at it. Really competitive, right, guys?
Yep. And they can join the Game On Challenge and show us how to play.
Probably not at 1 a.m. on a weekday.
It's Friday.
But they can definitely submit screenshots to the Game On Challenge channel on the CoCo Discord.
I guess they can do that. So, oops. I knew I forgot something. So that's it for the Game On Challenge. I'll send it back to you, Ken.
All right. Well, thanks for playing the games, and we'll see you on Thursday in the Game On Challenge channel on Discord.
Cool. And after that, the only thing, go ahead. Yeah, the only thing I got left to do is talking about upcoming shows. So I'm just going to go delve straight into it. And I'll share. And like I said, there is an addition this week compared to the last few weeks here. And of course, quite a few have been retired. RetroFest just finished last weekend, so that's off the list. But as usual, we'll do them in chronological order. So the first one coming up next is VCF Southwest, presented by the NVM National Video Game Museum. This is at the Davidson Goodeye Alumni Center in the University of Texas at Dallas, June 20th to the 22nd. So it's just a couple weeks away. I know Mark Bosley is planning on going to that one. I'm sure Brendan Donahue and a few others there as well. This, of course, is in the backyard of Tandy itself. So you're going to see a lot of Tandy alumni there, including people like Mark Siegel, who's planning on attending as well. This one will cost you $20 per adult, $25 if you buy the tickets at the door. So try to get them in advance if you can to save yourself some money. $10 for a student, $15 at the door. 17 and under is free. Tables were $50, but I do believe they're sold out. But you might want to contact them just in case somebody canceled.
Yeah, they're sold out.
Okay. Did you manage to get one before that happened, Richard, or no? Or were you not planning on
No, I did not get one. I tried and yeah, no luck. So, and I got, because I entered late in the game, so I am not attending because I have other things that are going on in June, so I can't go to it.
Oh, okay. I do know Brendan Donnie is planning on being there. Mark Siegel's planning on attending, and a few others as well. So, in fact, I think Boise's actually speaking at it this year too, if I remember correctly. Let me check.
Yes.
Thomas Harry Holmes, of course, will be there for Fujinet. Ian Maverick, we just talked about him. Tier City and CoCo enthusiast from Australia. And Boise, 8-bit brain surgery. Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, talking about replacing 65 with 2s or 609s and Atari, which I already knew about, and Commodore 64, which I did not know he'd done. Next after that, June 21st, Saturday from 11 a.m. till 3 p.m. Central Standard Time, there's the roughly quarterly summer meetup of the Retro Club in Winnipeg, actually called the Manitoba Retro Computer and Gaming Club. This is one I attended in January. David Craker's up for sure going. In fact, I think you'll see him mentioned right here. I don't know if D. Bruce Moore is going or if Jacob's going. But it's a nice little get-together. You guys have one actually in Texas that Bob Emery and a few others have been to before, where it's basically just a gathering. Sometimes they have themes that people try to, bring stuff that match. There's no theme on this particular one. It's anything retro, basically. And, of course, they've been working on some, hardware for music and stuff that I'm sure they'll be showing off an update on that. And I won't be able to make this one, unfortunately, myself this time around, but I do plan on attending one of them again because it was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun at that one. Next after that is the Southeast Michigan Vintage Computer Club, the 8th time they've done this. And this is on June 28th, so that's 3 weeks away, I guess. 11 a.m. to 5 p.m., so it's a single-day event again. And generally covers all kinds of retro stuff. It's sponsored by Adam of Commodore Chronicle. He's also a Tandy 1000 enthusiast, so he has some background with us, and Retro Rewind's a sponsor of that. And that one is at 2515 North Williams Lake Road, Waterford Township in Michigan. And should be a good time. That's at the what is it place here? It's called. It's near Pontiac, Michigan, if you're more familiar with that than Waterford Township. But it covers all retro gaming consoles and home computers. Next after that is the International Retro Computer Expo, formerly known as Boat Fest. This, of course, is hosted by the Amigos, which is John Schaller, also known as Boat of Car, Amigo Aaron, and his younger brother Brent. And this is their first year where they've renamed the event from Boat Fest because they were getting too many people getting confused. Where are the boats? And considering this is Hurricane, West Virginia, there's not much places to put boats. You got a small river. And but it's a lot of fun. It's a bit more gaming oriented, but not completely. There's some hardware stuff there too. Somebody last time, remember the guy's name, Henry might remember. But he brought a Tier City Model 4P and he's playing Load Runner and stuff on it. So it's pretty interesting to see that. And that's July 11th to 13th in Hurricane, West Virginia. There's a little promo video you can watch if you click on the link on the show notes. Next after that is a rather filled weekend. There's actually no less than 3 shows happening this exact same weekend. So the first one is the Big Kahuna VCF Midwest. This will have several thousand people at it. This is September 13th to 14th at the Schaumburg Convention Center in Schaumburg, Illinois, which is west of Chicago. Also the former home of Rainbow Fest. This year's the 20th anniversary, so should be a really big one. I'm expecting a lot of stuff. I think the Stop Bits are actually planning on playing at the show again too, so I'm going to catch Taylor and Amy and some others, singing and writing, geek tunes. Still free admission. Hotel's already open for booking. It's a lot larger facility than it had been the last few years, so hopefully it doesn't outgrow it too quickly again this time. And this would be a great one. Jason Timmons, of course, is one of the people that organizes and runs it, and he's also our auctioneer at CoCoFest these days, so bit of a crossover there as well. That exact.
If they outgrow this place,
yeah, then they're doing really well. Then it's Comdex. Maybe not quite. Comdex is like 150 to 200,000.
Yeah, that's
it's in the thousands already. So that same weekend is the Retro World Expo, labeled as the Northeast Premier Gaming Expo. And this is September 12th to the 14th at Connecticut Convention Center in Hartford, Connecticut. It's definitely a gaming-oriented show, but it has a lot of extra stuff thrown in too. There's like wrestling and all kinds of other things too. It'd be really cool if one of us managed to make it down there because it just sounds like a bit of a different vibe than most of the retro shows we're going to. Just love to see what people in our reference would consider the show with some of those extra things thrown in. I think Aaron and Brent and John would be right at home because they love wrestling. Brent actually and Aaron especially has actually hosted and been the MCs at some of the wrestling events in Hurricane. Like when the actual, smaller wrestling circuits come through, he's actually done some of the color commentary for these shows live. So I'm sure he'd love this type of a show. I just said Aaron doesn't like traveling, so I don't know if he'll make it to this or not. Also that same weekend, if you want to stay up in Canada, you can go to the WARC, World of Retro Computing. This is officially sponsored by Frank and Retro Rewind. We've covered it the last couple of years. This is at the old Goodies Department Store in Kitchener, Ontario, September 13th to 14th. And the size of the show last year was pretty close from the sounds of what RetroFest in the UK was that we just covered earlier in the show. But it covers all retro stuff. They also have stuff like LAN parties and seminars and vendors and workshops and door prizes and raffles. Admission is free to this as well. It runs from noon to 5 p.m. both Saturday and Sunday in Eastern time. And definitely had a CoCo contingent there last year. We had Frank having some stuff at the Retro Rewind table. Stevie Betzel was demonstrating OS9 on some stuff. So it's one I do definitely plan on attending. I don't think I'll be able to make it this year. I was kind of hoping I might be able to, but I don't think it's going to work out. But I definitely will be there within the next couple of years. After that, we have Tandy Assembly, September 26th to 28th in Springfield, Ohio. And this one is, of course, covers all of Tandy computers. It covers the TRS-80 model 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. All of the Z80 ones. Covers the CoCos, the MC10s. It covers Tandy 1000s to 4000s. Covers Model 100s, 200s, pocket computers, the whole shebang. And this is September 26th, 28th at the Courtyard by Marriott Springfield in Springfield, Ohio. Now, as we mentioned earlier in the show, but just a reminder, if you attended CoCo Fest this year and you still have your badge, it's free admission. Otherwise, you do have to pay to get in. The tables at this one are also sold out and have been sold out since May 13th. They are starting to pick up exhibitors and speakers and stuff too. So hopefully we'll get some live coverage from it if you can't make it to it. But if you're into all things Tandy computer related, this is definitely the one to go to. And if you're into gaming and on the northwest of the United States, the Portland Retro Gaming Expo, October 17th to 19th at the Oregon Convention Center in Portland, Oregon, which I'm hoping Mark Overhauser and some others in the area might be able to make it to. This is one that Tim and AJ have actually been an exhibitor at, and I think they are planning on trying to attend this year, but just as an attendee. Obviously, it's gaming oriented, and as you can see by the screenshot here, if you're watching the video version of the show, it gets packed, and there's tons of stuff. There's like plushy toys and blankets and stuff and all kinds of stuff you can buy there, paraphernalia wise, as well as all the gaming consoles and gaming handhelds and arcade games and the tabletop electronic games from back in the day. But if you're into computer gaming in any way, shape, or form, this is a good one to attend, and it's a pretty large show. And then the last one, I don't know if Frederick's still on the call. I don't think he is, but right in his backyard is the first VCF officially in Canada, and that's VCF Montreal, January 25th to 26th. Of 2026. It will be held at the Royal Military College just outside of Montreal. And they're just kind of in the early stages of this. And of course, it's a brand new show. But we'll get you more information. I'm hoping to actually get one of the guys kind of helping organize it here on the show at some point to help promote it. I don't know if they're going to be doing anything much different than a regular VCF in the States here, or they're going to try to add a bit of Canadian flair. Maybe you get free poutine when you walk in the door or something. Who knows? Or as Brian Weezer recently discovered, coffee crisp chocolate bars. Which I heard Neil was actually handing out at the CoCo Fest this last year. It's one of the ones I've had on for those who've ordered chocolate bars from me. I've had it on the list for years, but I guess nobody had really tried them, so they didn't want to try them. But now a few of them really like them. And that's all the shows I got. If there's any other shows you've got, like a reminder to our Brazilian friends, RetroSC, I know is coming up, I think, sometime soon. So if you guys want to send me some details on that, I'll add it to the list. And if there's any other retro shows in your areas of the back of the woods type thing and anywhere in the world, just fire me an email at curtisboyle@sastel.net or leave me a message on Discord, the CoCo Discord, and I will add it to the list and we'll promote it every single episode until it happens. And that's all I've got for news this week. That's Mark B's cue to wake up.
Yeah, you.
Okay.
So a little bit of a shorter show, but there's a ton of stuff that I did not cover. I did not play like the full hour videos and stuff from the Retro Fest in the UK. It actually is a really good show. There's a lot of really cool equipment there, including some stuff you don't see often here. So if you go in the show notes and grab the link to that video and some of the other photos we didn't go through, I definitely would go check those out. There's some really cool stuff.
Yeah, caught me when my door's open.
Oh, no.
At least it wasn't your fly.
Quick check.
Now I regret that joke.
Just be glad it was only a joke.
Yeah. I don't think that would happen because the cats would go after it. But anyway.
All right.
Check, please.
We ready for the outro then?
I think we are.
This concludes another episode of the CoCoNation, the world's leading live interactive talk show featuring the Tandy Color Computer. For all things the CoCoNation, visit us on the web at thecoconation.com. We'd love to hear from you. Send feedback, suggestions, even segments via email to show@thecoconation.com. The CoCoNation show would not exist without the community and its cast and crew. The CoCoNation theme song, copyright 2022, D. Bruce Moore. Mixed, mastered, and produced by D. Bruce Moore. The CoCoNation is over. Join us on the CoCo Discord server. CoCo forever.
Happy birthday to Roger Taylor.
And my condolences to forgot his name. The guy that did the graphics user interface for the Macintosh, Bill Atkinson.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, did he pass?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't hear that.
Just happened like 2 days ago. I do believe
I'm
it.
kind of busy with the outside stuff, so.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Bill Atkinson. But yeah,
And Roger Taylor, speaking of Ron, have you had a chance to ask him if he wanted to
Not yet.
stream our stuff? Yeah.
And Curtis and Ken, do you want to see this game that I originally chose that I can't get through?
Yeah, because maybe
Sure.
I can, if I get some time this week, maybe I can figure out what's going on.
All right.
We're still on the air.
Oh, geez. Okay.
Okay. Or should we say goodbye first?
No, it's bugs. Bugs are bugs too.
Bugs too.
We did have to do a patch to get that to run, so hopefully you've got the patch version.
Yeah, it's whatever's on the thing on the archive. And
I'm pretty sure I uploaded the new one there.
Yeah, it runs.
I thought I played this game before. Not on the Game On, but just played it.
Yeah, you see, I don't. In the top right, you see that barred thing. You have to have a missile to get through it, and I can never seem. I don't know how to get a missile.
Have you got on that room that's right above you right now with the orange and blue? Because you should pick up an object. Now, if you've already picked it up and wasted it, that won't help. Hit the enter key. Oh, you have to go back in the room again. Yeah, it's bugs 2, not the original. And you have to line up just right to get in there.
Yep.
Hit the enter key while you're in the room.
Oh, that's how you do it.
That's how you do pickups, yeah.
Yeah, there's no, it doesn't tell you in the directions to do that.
Yeah, the original Bugs, the first version of Bugs actually was the winner of the Color Computer Magazine programming contest. And the authors are people that did work for DICOM a little bit later on. Roland Knight and Dave Schuchen.
Yeah. Because this was the original game that I chose, but because I couldn't.
Oh, well, now you've got a game.
Yeah, now you got a game for the next week.
There you go.
There you go. All right, we've already chosen the game for next week.
Whoa. No. This is the game that I chose. So that when
so this will be for the next time I'm away.
Yes, for when
next time Ken breaks something.
Yeah.
Which should be what, Tuesday?
And we'll have forgotten about it since
Sunday.
Yeah, well, he's not going to break his main computer. He's going to break some classic computer, like a Tandy Model 1. Or did you take that back home?
Do I have a Tandy Model 1? Yeah, I do.
You did several videos on fixing it.
Where is it? What time zone is it in?
Yeah, it's a ways away here.
Yeah.
Actually, I have the boxes that came in right here. The computer's at my place, though, my house.
Yeah, because I know that you finished it up when you went back to your house. So
I haven't finished it yet. I still haven't gotten the monitor working properly.
Yeah, but the computer works. That's the important part.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you got some games to demo on it too still yet.
Yeah. So when you get it running, we can do a Inufuto game again.
There we go.
And hopefully by then I'll have my PC 8001A running, and then we'll show it on the Model 1 and the NEC PC 8001A.
All right. Well, I think with that, we should say goodbye to everybody.
Yep. I agree.
Goodbye.
I'm hungry.
Good night.